Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all. Welcome back to another episode, another spy number of Chasing Labels. This is episode number or spy number 159. Sorry, I had to lean in to look because my eyesight is so bad. Yes, we are on episode spy number 159. Welcome back. It is a brand new month. We are here in March of 2024, and yeah, it was an interesting end to February. Of course, at the very end of February, we had an award show. Um, n- we had not only over the Oscars this past Sunday, but about 2 weeks or so ago, there were the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards, which was put on and co-hosted by our friend Ryan Verrill over at the Disconnected, who we had on our newest episode of the Unwatched Pile, which is on our YouTube channel right now. Go and check that out if you haven't already. Where basically we pick something off of our shelf, something we haven't seen, something that's been just sitting around sometimes for years, sometimes for months, sometimes for who knows how long, and we watch it and then we pair it up with another movie in our collection of some kind. And we were lucky enough to have our friend Ryan Verrill make a reappearance on the Unwatched Pile, so that was a lot of fun. But before then, he had put on his Shelf Shock Rewind Awards, which basically gave out awards to all of the different releases from the year of 2024, like Best Box Set and Best Restoration, Best Upgrade, Best Sound, Best uh, Catalog Title, Best Pre-code title, all kinds of categories. Go and check that out over on the Disconnected channel now. But we also had a big awards in the movie world, and that was the Academy Awards. I know not everybody is a fan of the Academy Awards. Most people don't really care. It is kind of the Super Bowl of movies for many people. I'm rather fond of it. It's not the end all be all, but this year actually had some personal stakes in it because for those of you who have been longtime fans of Chasing Labels, whether it be the audio version that we started out doing, or whether it be the video version that we do now, or a combination of both, I don't really care as long as you support the show. Once upon a time, we had director, filmmaker, film fan, physical media lover Sean Baker here on Chasing Labels. We had him here on on episode number 70 back in October of 2022, and I believe there's only an audio version of that, so that will have to be found on like Apple Podcasts or Google or Spotify, places like that. That's probably where that episode is because that was before we were doing video portions of Chasing Labels, and we we had Sean Baker here on Chasing Labels, and of course he absolutely cleaned up at the Academy Awards. His film Honora, which is getting a Criterion release, I believe April 1st will be when Honora is coming out. It's part of the April packages. Oh, no, April 29th. Sorry, I'm thinking of another movie. April 29th, Honora is getting a 4K release as well as a Blu-ray release from Criterion. And that movie won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. He won for Best Director, Best Editing, Best Original Screenplay. He won as a producer of the movie. And Mikey Madison won for Best Actress. So that is Honora. And so we know Sean Baker. Chasing Labels officially knows an Oscar-winning filmmaker, and he was on, like I said, he was on Chasing Labels back on episode number 70. Sean Baker was back in October of 2022 because his movie Takeout had just gotten a Criterion release in September of that year. So we brought him on here to talk about this release, to talk about this movie, talk about his filmography, talk about his love for physical media, his love for movies, all that kind of stuff. So go back and check that out if you haven't already. But at the time, I went and grabbed all of his movies that were available then, like the movie Takeout from Criterion, which got a Blu-ray release, and then also his movie Starlet, which I believe is a movie not a lot of people talk about. And this has a release from Music Box Films. Coincidentally, I think is now a partner label with Vinegar Syndrome. And we'll talk about that a little bit later because they have a release during this, slate cycle, this release cycle, Tangerine, which now has a second sight Blu-ray release, which I do not have yet. It's becoming a little bit tougher to find. I think it's kind of out of print, maybe not, but Tangerine was a huge indie hit when it came out. And then, of course, his movie, The Florida Project, which was another hit when it came out. This movie stars Willem Dafoe as well as very precocious young actors in it as well. And this movie is actually getting a second sight release some point in the future. Second Sight just announced that they will be giving The Florida Project a new 4K restoration and probably be giving it a 4K release, I assume, in the future, probably in one of those nice big deluxe limited editions. I'll definitely be getting that. And then his movie Red Rocket, which had come out back in, when did this come out? I want to say 2022. Yes. And I have this movie here, and then now Anora is coming out later next month. So I thought I would definitely, show this off. Definitely give Sean Baker big congratulations. Our friend Aaron West, who was working on his book about A24, it also, I believe, got to talk with Sean Baker for his book and stuff like that. So that'll be coming out in the future as well. Very nice. I've never been this close to stardom before, so I was on the moon. I've never been this close to Hollywood ever in my life, nor did I ever believe I would be, that I would ever know someone who would win an Oscar. Never thought that in my wildest dreams. So the fact that I made that possible, and a lot of thanks is due to my friend Stephen Billings, who was my co-host here for a while. It was due to him that we got to meet Sean Baker because he kind of just reached out to his people to ask if he would come on our show, and miraculously he did. Hopefully, I wish him nothing but the best in the future, and damn, I'm so happy for him and for the movie Anora, which I talked about here on Chasing Labels when it was announced by Criterion, how much I liked the movie. I know it's not for everyone, which I don't think every movie is for everyone. So, but yeah, that's fascinating. But some more somber news, very somber news actually, because you got to take the good with the bad in life. The great legendary actor Gene Hackman passed away. Right now, as of this recording, which is the 4th of March, 2024, they're still investigating just how he passed. And his wife passed, one of his dogs passed away as well, kind of all under relatively mysterious circumstances at this point. At least that's kind of what I'm going on based off of what has been reported so far. But nonetheless, as tragic as his loss is and as sad as any loss is, really, he had quite a legacy as an actor in his profession. Truly one of the most, well-known and recognizable actors of my time. I think because he was in so many things, so many fantastic things, and I have a few of his movies here that I wanted to share from my collection. I'm sure many of you have stuff in your collection as well. This is kind of random. I didn't put them in any order at all. The movie Hoosiers, of course, one of the greatest sports movies of all time, one of the greatest basketball movies of all time. The movie stars, of course, Dennis Hopper as well. Great film, great film. One of my favorites, quite honestly, is Mike Nichols's film The Birdcage. What a fantastic movie. One of the funniest movies, I think, of the last 30 years. It is quite astonishingly still funny to this day, starring the late, great Robin Williams, as well as Nathan Lane. Diane Wiest is in this film as well. Just incredible film. Yeah, I love The Birdcage. And then something more serious here is Mississippi Burning. This movie sadly just gets more relevant over time, dealing with the racism in the Deep South. Excuse me, as we know, that is still a hot button issue throughout the world, throughout the United States. It's a really this movie Mississippi Burning is very, very good. I want to see, because this is the Twilight Time release that I'm holding up here for those of you listening at home, and yeah, it has been re-released by Kino. So I know that this Mississippi Burning release is long out of print. It came out in 2015. Twilight Time kind of really doesn't exist anymore. A lot of their stuff has now gone out of print because of licensing lapses and things like that. Mississippi Burning does have a Blu-ray release from Kino as of right now. Really great movie. Another one of my personal favorites, and I've got to get the Shout Select edition of this because this kind of plain Jane release really doesn't do it justice, and that is Get Shorty. Get Shorty is such a great rewatchable movie. It's a movie like satirizing movie making, satirizing Hollywood, starring John Travolta, Gene Hackman, Rene Russo, and Danny DeVito. Such a great comedy from the 90s. And when I said plain Jane release, it actually has some special features. There's an audio commentary here with director Barry Sonnenfeld, and some special features like behind the scenes featurettes and things like that. Probably shorter stuff, I would assume. But yeah, that's Get Shorty. And then one of his later, probably his last truly great film, is the Wes Anderson film, The Royal Tenenbaums. Now, I've owned this on DVD. I've owned this now on Blu-ray. If Criterion ever plans on re-releasing Wes Anderson stuff in 4K, I may get it then. But The Royal Tenenbaums for me is probably still my favorite Wes Anderson film. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I really don't know. But for me, it's always been my favorite. And a great ensemble cast in here with like Gwyneth Paltrow, was Luke Wilson, Ben Stiller's in the film, Owen Wilson's in the film as well. There's a lot. This is a great ensemble cast. Angelica Houston. It's been many years since I've seen this movie, but it is still my favorite Wes Anderson film. And then we've got some other stuff here that you'll probably recognize in Unforgiven. I've owned Unforgiven on DVD and Blu-ray. There is a 4K edition of this out now. It's been out for a couple of years of Clint Eastwood's, talk about Oscars, Oscar-winning film, Unforgiven. And yeah, truly one of the last great Westerns. I know everybody says that, but it really is. Westerns did make a comeback over the last decade or so, but not quite to this level. You know what I mean? Like this movie is really, really good. Like it's an upper echelon film in terms of not only as a Western, but as a film in general. Starring Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris. Yeah, own Unforgiven any way you can. You definitely won't regret it. And then one of his more well-known films is The French Connection. I've had this release for many, many years. For those of you listening at home, this is the filmmaker's signature series, The French Connection Blu-ray. There's been talk of this getting a re-release on 4K for years. I don't know if that's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I've had this release for a very long time, to the point where I still have the Best Buy price tag sticker on the cover of the slipcover. That's how long I've had this. And this is the edition that you want. It's the one, I mean, for those of you listening at home, you don't understand. It's the one with Gene Hackman on the cover. Doesn't really tell you a lot, but there were two editions of this that came out. This is the one you really want. There was a difference in color timing when it came to these two different editions in terms of the color palette of the film, but I believe this is the one that you indeed do want when it comes to the current editions of The French Connection. There are so many other films that he was in. He was in The Firm. He was in the movie Banning, which I have over there, which I did a review for, the imprint edition of Banning, which came out in 1967. That's more of a Robert Wagner film, but he's in it. Some other stuff I have. Speaking of imprint, I've got the Gene Hackman imprint collection. It's their film focus collection that has I Never Sang for My Father. What's the second film it has in here? Bite the Bullet, the Domino Principle, and March or Die. I Never Sang for My Father is an amazing film. It's Melvin Douglas and Gene Hackman as a father-son pairing, and they explore their relationship in it, and it is a phenomenal movie. Just extraordinary movie. Two legends going at each other in that movie. Truly extraordinary. So that's the Gene Hackman collection from Imprint, their film focus collection. And then, of course, I think many people have his Superman films. Of course, he played Lex Luthor in Superman, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, and I believe Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. He was not in Superman 3. The villain in that movie, I believe, is Richard Pryor. as like a tech like a computer guy, if I remember correctly. I have this Blu-ray box set from the UK, which is the same as the Warner Brothers release that was here. But I've got to get the 4K release that just came out a few years ago. I'm just waiting for the price to drop on it. But this collection that I have has it's an 8-disc collection, the 8th disc being a bonus disc. And it's got Superman the movie, it's got the theatrical cut, the expanded edition, does not have the TV edition. That was released through Warner Archive a couple of years ago. But it has Superman 2, the theatrical cut, the Richard Lester cut, essentially. It has disc 4 is the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut. Superman 3 is on disc 5, Superman The Quest for Peace on disc 6, and then disc 7 is Superman Returns, the Bryan Singer film, which canonically or chronologically takes place, I think, after Superman 2. If I remember correctly. Not a lot of people like that movie. Superman Returns. It's interesting. Obviously, what we know now about Bryan Singer and all that kind of stuff kind of mars that movie to a great extent. But yeah, that is just a quick recap of most of the things I have in my collection when it comes to the late, great Gene Hackman. Truly one of the legends of our time when it came to the world of movies. Yeah, it's nice that a lot of his work has been preserved, whether it be on DVD, 4K, or Blu-ray. We've got a nice collection of Gene Hackman stuff, and there's even more stuff that I don't have. I went and did like a whole just looking to see what's available. There's so much Gene Hackman stuff available, and that is probably still going to be coming out. I know that Kino just put out Target, which we talked about here, which starred along with Matt Dillon, and then they put out The Package, which is a movie directed by the same director of The Fugitive, and feels like The Fugitive actually. Yeah, and there's plenty of other Gene Hackman stuff to go around, but other than that, I got a couple of things added additions to the collection lately. Couple of indicator releases. I got A Time for Dying. Speaking of westerns, this is a Bud Bedecker western. I think this is the last Bud Bedecker western. If I remember correctly, this came out a couple of years ago here in the U.S. This is one of the indicator's first U.S. releases. And then I got Orders to Kill, directed by Anthony Asquith. Underrated movie. I had no idea that this movie existed until I talked about it here for Chasing Labels. Really great film. Then I recently picked up, I think I talked about this before. If I didn't, The Terminator got a 4K re-release towards the end of last year. And last year was the year of James Cameron 4K upgrades. And some good, some not so good. But I'll say this, I think The Terminator is one of the good ones. There's actual film grain in this transfer as opposed to something like True Lies, which is probably about as bad as everyone said it is, unfortunately. The whole aesthetic to this 4K is puzzling to me, absolutely puzzling to me. But let me move these things aside and get to some of these comments, and then we will dive into what's been going on in the world of boutique labels. Once again, here's my stack of just random Gene Hackman stuff. For those of you who missed out on it, I have much more Gene Hackman in my collection than I realized. Kind of absentmindedly just buying his stuff over the years, because he was in so many good movies too. Like the movies are good. Let me stack that up there. I got a feeling that's not gonna. All right, let me fix. Just making sure my stacks don't tumble over on me during the middle of the show. But let's get to some comments here. Jeff is here. Jeff K. Evening. Good evening, Jeff. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting the channel, supporting the show. Acres of Movies. Hello and thanks. What is your favorite crime thriller? Oh, boy, that's an interesting question. Let me think for a moment here. Let's see, crime thriller. Interesting that these are mostly thrillers, but you know what I really like, and something that's instantly rewatchable for me is Ocean's 11. the Steven Soderbergh film, which just got a 4K release last year, 4K Steelbook release. Specifically the first film. I've only ever seen Ocean's 12. I've never seen Ocean's 13, but that Ocean's 11 movie is so tight when it comes to the screenplay, the acting, the direction, the ensemble cast is so good. I've gone back and revisited it so many times. Yeah, that's a good one. Jeff K says Morgan Freeman said some nice words about Gene Sunday night. Yeah, they had a nice little Morgan Freeman had a nice little tribute for Gene Hackman before the in memoriam and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh yeah, Jeff K. I've always heard he's good in the comment. Thank you for reminding me, Jeff. I almost forgot. I mean, I've never missed an opportunity to show this edition off. Here is my edition of The Conversation, my Studio Canal 4K release. Yeah, he is amazing in The Conversation. This movie, I know in the 70s, when it comes to Coppola, the Godfather movies reign supreme. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and then of course after that you have a masterwork in Apocalypse Now. But in the middle of all of that, Coppola does this movie called The Conversation, and it is, I think it's on the same level as those other films. It just doesn't get talked about as much as the other ones, because the other ones I think just have encapsulate or kind of enraptured the zeitgeist of people, you know, because The Godfather's so iconic. The music, the actors, the story, all of that stuff. There's this endless fascination with American gangsters in movies, and that just plays right into it. And then Apocalypse Now is just a masterwork of a film. But in the middle of that, The Conversation, what a movie. What a movie. Yeah, let me see what else we've got here. Let me see. Favorite Alan Parker film. I have to look up who Alan Parker is, to be quite honest with you, Acres of Movies. Let's see. So Alan Parker, he directed Evita, Angela's Ashes. Oh, he directed Angel Heart and Mississippi Burning. I'd have to say, just because I've only ever seen, I think, Angel Heart and Mississippi. Oh boy, never mind. Pink Floyd, The Wall. That's a movie. Where is my nice release of that? Yeah, Midnight Express is also really good. Pink Floyd, The Wall. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That's a movie. It's what a rock opera of set to Pink Floyd music, that whole album. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pink Floyd, The Wall. So let's see. Let me go to my notes here. So we will dive into, let's start with Umbrella. Because they were one of the first slates of this week. And I wanted to see, where's my umbrella? Where's my umbrella? Well, there they are. So we've got Wake and Fright, New Extremity Collection Volume 1, The Waves of Madness, and 10 Canoes. So I believe that is their entire slate. Let's start with Wake and Fright, because Wake and Fright is a movie that I had heard about for years, being part of Australian Ozploitation, being part of that kind of Australian film movement of that time, but I had never seen it until now. Wake and Fright. Let's see. As always, there is a super deluxe fancy edition that you can get, or you can just get it, or you can just get a more standard version of this release. Let's see. And this is a 4K release. It's got glorious 4K Dolby Vision with authoring by Fidelity in Motion, who we've interviewed here, actually. We interviewed Mackenzie. I forget which Mackenzie it is. I'm so sorry. Only available from the Umbrella web store. The Yaba Wake and Fright Collector's Edition includes new Dolby Vision 4K remastered feature from the original camera negative by Umbrella Entertainment. You get an exclusive T-shirt. You get you get all kinds of stuff. You get, so there's a game they play in the movie called 2 Up, and you get like the piece of wood and the coins that go in it for this 2 Up game. I think you get Like I said, you get a T-shirt. I think you get a beer. Yeah, you get beer pot glass with beer coaster, 150-page hardback book, 200-page hardback book of the original Kenneth Cook novel Wake and Fright. So you get the novel that the movie's based on. That's a cool thing nobody does anymore. You get a slip cover, 8 custom artwork, rigid case, slipcase books, and poster designed by Time Tomorrow. 8 art cards, reversible poster. This is a limited number release, but this movie is interesting. So it's about a board school teacher whose name is John Grant, portrayed by Gary Bond. He stops overnight in Bundan, which is like a small like frontier town in Australia. He's basically trying to go from like a smaller town that he actually is a school teacher in to Sydney, Australia to meet up with his, I think, girlfriend in the movie. And in between, then he gets stuck like overnight in this Bundayaba town. And he kind of falls into certain problems. What happens is he starts gambling. He initially wins, but he gets that gambling bug and then bets again and then loses all of his money. So he is stuck in this town with no money, no way to get out of it. And he just kind of gets caught up in like local shenanigans, if you will. He ends up running into kind of this local doc. I think it's a doctor. Yeah, local doctor portrayed by Donald Pleasance. Really interesting character of a guy. There's a lot of interesting characters in this movie, kind of local eccentric people that he runs into. But anywho, he ends up falling like deeper and deeper into like this weird, drunk, violent episode of that's going on in the movie. Yeah, this edition of Wake and Fright is loaded with special features. Absolutely loaded. New feature, like I said, remastered in 4K. There is two audio commentaries here. One is a new one. There's a new special feature called Sunstruck, a bonus feature film from the producers of Wake and Fright. New Return to the Yab, a 50-minute feature tracking down the film's Broken Hill locations. New interview with director of photography. New Not Quite Hollywood interview with actor Jack Thompson. You're Mad, You Bastard 2008 interview with director Ted Kochev. Ted Kochev is the director of the film. Q&A with Ted Kochev. Bunch of other special features. My goodness, a lot of new stuff too. This is a deluxe release of Wake and Fright from Umbrella. Definitely highly recommended that. Yeah, and the movie's good. The movie's actually very, very good. It's dark, hypnotic, weird, but I thought really, really good. Let me see. Let me go quickly through the new Extremity Collection Volume 1. I assume that means that we're going to get a Volume 2 at some point, but this one has several heavy hitters that I'm sure many of you are aware of. So we have High Tension, Anatomy of Hell, Frontiers, and Martyrs. Martyrs, I'm pretty sure many of you are aware of. High Tension, I know many of you are aware of. Frontiers, perhaps less aware of, and Anatomy of Hell it's a movie, man. It's a movie. So Anatomy of Hell is directed by Catherine Breillat. Catherine Breillat is a director who is not afraid to not only push the envelope, but go so far past the envelope. Catherine Breillat has had several films released by the Criterion Collection, or at least one that comes to my mind. Let me look up Catherine Breillat. It's just, yeah, her film from the Criterion Collection is called Fat Girl. Yeah, I don't want to say anything about the movie other than Catherine Breillat goes for it. Her movie also called Last Summer is getting or I think already got a Janus Contemporaries release, which I talked about here on Chasing Labels. Another film that pushes things to the extreme. This may be her most extreme film that I've ever seen of hers. The movie called Anatomy of Hell. I don't even know if I can explain this movie to people. It's based, I think, on her own book. So she adapted her own book. Set in a hauntingly minimalistic landscape, the story unfolds as two strangers, a woman and a man, enter an unusual arrangement that compels them to confront the raw truths of desire and gender. Basically, this woman kind of hires this homosexual gay man, well, this gay man, to watch her while she sleeps. And things kind of escalate from there. That's all I can really say about it. And the movie gets graphic. It gets very, very sexual, very, very graphic. Um, yeah, that's all I can say. Martyrs, I'm pretty sure many of you know of already. I actually have a copy of Martyrs that Umbrella put out a few years ago. For those of you who are also long time, hold on, it's down there. It's down on a stack. I was gonna pull it out, but it's down there somewhere. For those of you who know, we had um, the kind of the head of Umbrella here on Chasing Labels a few years ago, and he was gracious enough to let us um, uh, give us a few things from their store. Essentially, Stephen and I were able to place an order, and we were able to get some things. And one of the things I chose was their release of Martyrs. So I'm assuming this is a re-release of that edition. They also put out an individual release of Frontiers, and I think they put out an individual release of High Tension. Let me check. I know High Tension just got a release from. Okay, so they did not put an individual release of High Tension out. That was Second Sight. That was Second Sight. My fault. Um, but yeah, so this box set is of extreme movies. So Martyrs is a genre-defining classic, so profoundly traumatizing. Martyrs transcends all constraints of your average horror film and dives into the murky depths of human degradation and suffering. Yep, that's pretty accurate. I don't want to say anything about Martyrs. I think if people are going to come to that movie based off of what just reputation alone, I think they need to experience it for themselves. Um, but Frontiers, fans of visceral, high stakes survival horror won't want to miss this edge of your seat experience. Um, so basically, what happens is there are riots in Paris, and a bunch of young people escape to um, basically the middle of the countryside, and they end up getting caught in a countryside inn where there's a lot of weird things going on, and they have to survive. It's one of those kind of 2000s meeting strange, weird people in the middle of nowhere, and things escalate from there. That's Frontiers. Um, and then High Tension. Best friends Marie and Alex set off for a quiet weekend in the countryside, hoping for a peaceful escape of Alex's family home. But as night falls, their getaway turns into a nightmare when a mysterious intruder arrives, unleashing a brutal game of survival. And yet again, another film that has quite a reputation. But this release here um, comes with a lot of extra goodies as well. There's a collector's edition, and then there's a standard edition. I think the standard edition may be sold out already. Wow. But the collector's edition is not. It comes with a 100-page book with essays by Alexandra West, Grant Watson, Jack Sargent, and Matt Kanopka, and more. 8 art cards. It's got 2 reversible posters. And then each movie has special features. Each movie has an audio commentary. Each movie has special features. I won't go through all of them here. But it does look like the Martyrs one is just the release of Martyrs that they put out already, because none of it's new. Actually, our friend Alexandra Helen Nicholas did a audio commentary for Frontiers. I want to say Frontiers. I guess Frontiers got released from someone else. It did not get released from. Maybe it was Second Sight. Hold on. Yeah, it was Second Sight. It was Second Sight back in 2023. Okay. So let's see what else we've got from Umbrella. Sorry. Let's see. The Waves of Madness. I did not get to see this movie, so I don't know anything about it. It just says the 9th release in our new Australian filmmakers line is The Waves of Madness. The collector's edition is only available from Umbrella web store and includes a limited and numbered slipcase with a 20-page booklet. Inspired by a classic side-scrolling video game and timeless black and white terror, and the timeless black and white terror of the 1930s monster movies. The Waves of Madness is Jason Trost's heartfelt tribute to the legacy of horror and a beacon looking at its future. A special agent is dispatched to investigate a distress call from a round the world cruise, only to find the ship eerily abandoned and haunted by a malevolent force that twists sanity into terror. Oh, sounds frightening as all heck. Um, yeah, that is the Waves of Madness. Oh, I get it. The Waves of Madness. It's on a boat. Okay, that makes sense. 10 Canoes. 10 Canoes. These are all coming out in June, by the way. These are all the June releases from Umbrella. So the 10 Canoes, um, let's see, experience a Rolf the Hare and Peter Jigger's cautionary tale of forbidden love in this stunning new 4K restoration. Experience Rolf de Geer and actually they just re-saying what I just said. Experience Rolf de Heer's and Peter Jigger's cautionary tale of forbidden love in this stunning new restoration. Back in the old times, young Aboriginal warrior Dayindi covets the youngest wife of his older brother, Minigululu. Out on the swamp on a goose egg hunting expedition, Minigulu tells Dayindi a cautionary story from the mythical times, a tale within the tale of the dire possible consequences if such feelings are acted upon. So what we get here is a story within a story. We have a narrator who's telling us a story of these two brothers, and then within the story of these two brothers, one of the brothers is telling the other brother a story. So it's like an inception of stories, if you will. um, an interesting look at Aboriginal culture of Australia, and and that's what's really fascinating about this movie the most, in my opinion, is that you get to see a side of indigenous culture of Australia that you really probably don't see in a lot of movies, especially Australian movies. Yeah, I really liked it. This edition here, it comes with a 48-page book, classic poster artwork, rigid case, classic poster artwork, slip case, 8 art cards, reversible poster, limited edition numbered release. I believe that's the collector's edition. That's the collector's edition. New 4K restoration from the original elements. The movie's probably going to look incredible, because all of it is shot outdoors. All of it is shot in nature. Um, yeah, look, it's going to look really fantastic. You've got a Q&A from the City Film Festival from 2024, with the co-directors, and plus a bunch of other special features here as well. Looks like small, shorter featurettes, and stuff like that. So that is everything from Umbrella. There is Wake and Fright, New Extremity Collection Volume 1, The Waves of Madness, and 10 Canoes. These are all coming out in June of this year. So that is it from Umbrella. Let me see what else is happening. Jeff K says Martyrs is a hard watch. Yes, it is. Martyrs starts off as one film and then turns into something else, and it is tough. It's a movie I've only seen once. Um, it's a movie I've only seen once, and I don't know how I'm ever going to rewatch it again. And you may ask yourself, why do I own a movie I may never watch again? Well, one, I, we got it from Umbrella themselves, and two, it's almost like a source of pride. Like, hey, I own Martyrs. You know what I mean? it's it's like you're being cool by just having it. Uh, but it's not really a movie I would rewatch anytime soon. There are several films like that, that films that I can only watch maybe once, maybe twice. Um, I say this again, a movie that I don't know if I can ever watch again is Alejandro Inarritu. Alejandro Inarritu's Amores Perros. That movie features dogfighting, and it kills me to watch it. I watched it once just because I wanted to see it because he's a good filmmaker in my opinion, and I'll probably never see it again. I don't even own it. To be honest, I don't own it. I think there's a Criterion of it, and I see it every time I go to the Criterion sale, and I just pass it by because it's not something that I'm going to watch anytime soon. But yes, Martyrs is very tough to watch. Out of those 4 movies, Martyrs is really tough. Anatomy of Hell is so trippy and graphic that I don't even know how to how to explain it. High Tension and Frontiers is kind of stuff you've seen from other films. Specifically other films in the 2000s, those survival type of horror movies, like Wrong Turn, or even the early Rob Zombie films, like House of a Thousand Corpses is similar. The Texas Chainsaw remake, things like that. But yeah, so that is Umbrella. Let's move on from Umbrella to let's go to Indicator. Let's go to Indicator. Why not? Why not? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there are two Jean Rollin films, The Iron Rose and Girls Without Shame, also known as Schoolgirl Hitchhikers. Both both of the titles are accurate, I would say. Both of them kind of work in terms of description of that movie. But The Iron Rose I watched a long time ago. I have a few of these Jean Rollin films in my collection. Once again, Jean Rollin has become probably one of my favorite directors over the last several years, or at least favorite discoveries of a director. I discovered him not only through the releases from Indicator, but our dear friend Kat Ellinger produced a um a documentary all about Jean Rollin, and a couple of years ago, I believe. Yeah, let me see. Let me get the name of it, so I'm not just talking out of turn here. Yes, it's called Orchestrator of Storms: The Fantastic World of Jean Rollin, and it came out in 2022. It was co-directed by Kat Ellinger and Dima Balin. It was co-written by Kat Ellinger and Dima Balin, and it's a really good documentary. I wish it was available on disc. I don't think it is yet. Don't quote me on that. I had to watch it on Arrow has their own streaming service, the Arrow Player, I believe it's called, and I watched it on there. I got like a free trial, and I watched it on there because we had Kat Ellinger on to talk about that, I believe. And Kat Ellinger is one of my favorite people that we've ever come across here on Chasing Labels. But she knows a lot about the world of Fantastique and a lot about the world of Jean Rollin. So with her knowledge and her documentary, as well as the 4K release that we are getting from Indicator, I've been delved deep into Jean Rollin. I've still got to get several of his releases. I am so far behind. I have Shivers of the Vampire. I have what are some of the other ones I have? I have Shivers of the Vampire. Let me get them. Hold on. I have them right over here on my chair. Yeah, I meant to get them before the show, but I completely forgot because I was pulling Gene Hackman stuff off my shelves, and I had to go all around. So I've got a few here. I've got Shivers of the Vampire. I've got Fascination here. And I've got Two Orphan Vampires. I am so far behind. I've got to get the other ones because it's not that they're going out of print. You can still find them. Some of them are sold out. Some US releases are sold out from their website, but they are available on places like Diabolic DVD, as well as Orbit DVD, as well as Amazon has them as well. But I really like the world of the Fantastique. It's so unique and so interesting. It's horror, it's sexploitation, it's trippy, it's 70s cinema. It's so unique. It's borderline adult entertainment at times, which makes sense because if you know Jean Rollin, he delved into that world. But we do have some other comments here as well. Let's see. Our friend Corin Humboldt. I love the Iron Rose so much. Yeah, I do like the Iron Rose. I'm going to talk about it here in a second. And Corin Humboldt also says great doc too. Yes, Kat Ellinger's doc is fantastic. I was just telling people I kind of wish it was on disc, just so I could have it. I'm not sure if it is. Corin, it's so nice to see you. I saw you the other night in our good friend Celeste Lacabra did a 4-hour stream throughout the Academy Awards, which as someone who does the 4-hour stream here on Chasing Labels from time to time, it is not an easy task. You wear yourself out afterward. You have to take You have to take the rest of the night off after a 4-hour stream. I don't know how the video game streamers do it. I don't know how people on Twitch do super long streams. Like they'll do marathons of like a whole day or like days long streams, and I'm like, this is impossible. This is impossible. Um, yes, Corin Humboldt says Celeste did a great job, and yes, she did. She did a great job. Like I said, 4-hour streams are not easy, um, especially if it's like a watch along thing as well. There can be some dead air as you're watching, and you're trying to like process what's going on screen as well as interact with people here. Streaming is not easy. It's something I get nervous about every single time I do it. To be honest, I've been doing this for so long now. But back to Jean Rollin and the Fantastique. Speaking of, I guess, frightening things. Well, not really frightening things, but you know what I'm saying. That's the thing with Jean Rollin's films is they're more creepy and eerie than straight up horror, because there is a sense of almost campiness to them at times. So that kind of limits the horror a little bit. But the Iron Rose, I'll go with the 4K release here. So the Iron Rose came out in 1973. The 70s was really his kind of sweet spot in terms of his fantastic work, in my opinion. Let me run this down here. When a couple played by Francois Pascal and Hughes Kester stumble across an old cemetery, they begin to explore its gravestones and crypts. But as night falls, they find that they are unable to leave. Isn't that the case? That's why I stay away from cemeteries at night. I don't want anything to do with cemeteries at night. So what we get here is yet again another film delving into the world of the Fantastique from Jean Rollin. I wanted to go check my letterbox, see if I can get a better description of the movie. Let's see, because that really doesn't tell you anything. So actually, it just says the same thing here. A young couple out for a walk decide to take a stroll through a large cemetery. As darkness begins to fall, they realize they can't find their way out, and soon their fears begin to overtake them. Oh, yes, that's this movie. Yep, it's starting to come back to me now. They start kind of going crazy in this place. And weird things start happening. Things start coming out of the shadows and the woodwork. It's kind of like a really messed up haunted house movie. I really like this movie a lot. It's one of his non-vampire films. I don't know what it is with him, Jean Rollin, that is. He did a lot of vampire sex movies, a lot of those movies. But yeah, this is one of his better films in my opinion. Let me run down special features. It says restored in 4K from the original negative. The Iron Rose also features Roland regulars, Natalie Perry, who was in Lips of Blood, and Mireille Dargent, who was in Requiem for a Vampire, and is considered by many to be one of its director's crowning achievements. I would say yes. The new edition also includes a new 4K restoration of Roland's early short film, The Yellow Loves. That's really cool. It's always awesome to get short films of any kind as a special feature, because where else are we going to find them, really? So we've got, let's see, 4K HDR restoration from the original negative, 2 presentations of the film, La Rose de Feu, Jean Rollind's original French language version, and The Crystal Rose, the English language version. Let's see, audio commentary with film historian Tim Lucas. Jean Rollin introduces the Iron Rose from 1998. That's really cool. Archival interview with Rollin from 2010. Les Nuits des Cimetières, an in-depth documentary on the making of the Iron Rose by Roland's personal assistant, Daniel Gouillet, featuring interviews with key Roland associates Jean-Noël Delmarais, Natalie Perry, and Alain Petit. Our archival interview with Francois Pascal from 2012, newly edited interview with Francois Pascal, two, I guess, interviews with Francois Pascal. This one from 2025. Wow. Critical appreciation by author and film historian Stephen Thrower. The Yellow Loves, which is the short film. Marceline Bloch on Tristan Corbier. The academic explores the poet's influence on Roland's work. And then we've got theatrical trailer, and that is about it. Of course, there's a booklet here as well with writings in it. Limited limited edition of 10,000 individually numbered units, 6,000 4Ks, 4,000 Blu-rays for the 4K for the UK and US. And this is a region-free release. If Blu-ray, 4K is region free, and I believe you only get the 4K editions if I remember correctly. Um, yes, you only get the 4K discs. And now that I'm looking at these releases, yep, you only get the 4K disc, which is fine because I will say this: of the films that I have and the films that I've seen, these 4Ks look incredible of the Jean Roland films. Um, I'm kind of stunned by them, how amazing they look for how old the films are, for how relatively low budgeted the films are, and for the kind of films they are. They look astounding. So that is the Iron Rose. There is a 4K release. There is a 4K US release. There's a Blu-ray release, and there's a Blu-ray US release as well. Now let's move to Girls Without Shame, also known as Schoolgirl Hitchhikers. What is interesting about this pairing of the Iron Rose and the Girls Without Shame is that the Girls Without Shame may be one of the worst Jean Roland films that I've seen. But let's get into it. Let's get into it, shall we? So this film came out in 1973 as well, around the same time as the other film. Yeah, so it says Joel Couer and Gilda Arancio star in Girls Without Shame, Jean Roland's first foray into the world of erotic cinema made under the pseudonym Michel Gentil. He had a pseudonym that explains a lot. Explains a lot. Two curious young women, Monica and Jackie, find an abandoned old house whilst out hiking. Retiring to bed, they soon find out that the house is a hangout for a criminal gang who suspect them of stealing their loot. So yes, it is that mixed in with a lot of just random sex scenes and erotic scenes and nudity. I can understand how this is kind of his first straight up sexploitation film. There's no real horror stuff going on in it. It's not really a fantastique film because to me it doesn't give that vibe. It doesn't give that sense of eeriness or anything going on or supernatural or anything. It's just these two girls are walking in the woods and they end up in this abandoned house that they think is abandoned, and just a bunch of criminals show up. And they think that these two girls have stolen their money that they got from some type of robbery they did. And that's the movie. It's not great. Yeah, but it's Jean Roland, you know. Yeah, but let's see what we got here for special features. The movie's only 80 minutes long, so it's not a long film. Let's see. We got a new 4K HDR restoration from the original negative by Powerhouse Films. 3 presentations of the film: Jean Roland's original French language version, Jeune Fille Épudique, and alternate English language presentations, Girls Without Shame and Schoolgirl Hitchhikers. What is fascinating about this movie, I think at no point in the movie are these women portrayed as schoolgirls. They're not. They're just like two young women who happen to be walking in the woods and find a house. That's kind of it. At no point is it hinted at that that's what they are. Yeah, and they're not really hitchhiking either. It's like I said, not a great movie. Fascinating movie, I think, for his no, but I can't remember. Just for his career and his place in his career and stuff like that, and his filmography. That's the word I'm looking for. Filmography. I almost said cinematography, which would not have worked. But in his filmography. But yes, there are 3 versions of the movie. And let's see, audio commentary with film historian David Flint, critical appreciation by author and filmmaker Nicholas Stanzik, video appreciation of enigmatic actor Joel Couer by actor, director, and film historian Christophe Bier, Sexana, new 4K restoration of Hubert Lacoudeur's surreal erotic short film starring Joel Couer, featuring a new score by Peninsula. Okay. Critical appreciation of Sexana by Nicholas Stanzik. Oh, interesting. And then that is it. So this is Girls Without Shame, also known as Schoolgirl Hitchhikers, by Jean Roland. It's getting a 4K release in both the US and the UK, and a Blu-ray release in both the US and the UK. the yeah, the 4K will be region free. Should check to see if the Blu-ray is a region. Well, you can get a US Blu-ray. Never mind. I was going to say the UK the UK Blu-ray release. I'm pretty sure is going to be region B. The US Blu-ray release will be region A. I don't know what I was thinking there. But yeah, that is two releases from Indicator of Genre Lawn Films of the Iron Rose, as well as Schoolgirls Without Shame, or Schoolgirls Hitchhikers, as it's known in other places. So let's move on from Indicator. Let's see what else I have here. Actually, you know what? This popped up right here. We'll get into it now. There is an upcoming Blu-ray release from our friends over at Fun City Editions, and it is an interesting release. It's called Falling in Love. It's a movie that stars Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep, and it's directed by Ulu Grossbard. Let me get the synopsis for this. I had heard about this movie years ago, and I had never seen it. And it's an interesting film, kind of playing on this idea of uh, Brief Encounter. Brief Encounter, the David Lean film. That's kind of what it's kind of playing on. Let's see. So, Falling in Love from 1984, Ulu Grossbard. It says here, during shopping for Christmas, Frank and Molly run into each other. This fleeting short moment will start to change their lives. When they recognize each other months later in the train home and have a good time together, although both are married and Frank has two little kids, they meet more and more often, their friendship becoming the most precious thing in their lives. So what we have here, like I said, is two people meeting by happenstance while out shopping for Christmas for the holiday season. Then they end up kind of running into each other and then they end up running into each other again on a train some months later, and then this friendship relationship starts up, and then things progress from there. And of course, you've got Meryl Streep, you've got Robert De Niro. That's enough to get people to watch it. That's enough to get me to watch it, which I did. It's a good film. I think it's a good film. It's not amazing. It certainly doesn't live up to like, oh my goodness, it's Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep. This must be amazing. Not quite there, but I think it's still good. I liked it a lot. Harvey Keitel is in the film as well. He has a small role. Ulu Grossbard directed Straight Time with Dustin Hoffman, which I believe is the movie that has a Blu-ray release from Warner Archive. He also directed Deep End of the Ocean, a movie from 1999. That's a movie that I watched with my mother back in 1999 when I was like 12 years old. That's the movie starring Michelle Pfeiffer, where it's her and Treat Williams, and they lose their young son gets kidnapped or goes missing when he's super young, and then they somehow find him later on when he's like a teenager. Yes, I remember that movie, and he also directed the movie Georgia. The movie Georgia, which I have actually somewhere in one of these stacks. I think it actually may be over there. Actually, that may be a different movie, but that's the movie that stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and Mara Winningham. Ted Levine is in that film as well. Georgia's a good movie with it's dealing with like siblings, but dealing with like personal struggles and stuff. Yeah, Georgia. Sadie looks up to her older sister, Georgia, a successful folk singer. Unfortunately, it is this very obsession, coupled with her self-destructive tendencies and rampant drug abuse, that keeps her spiraling down the drain. The person they're talking about is the Jennifer Jason Leigh character. And Jennifer Jason Leigh plays that character very, very well. But back to the other film, Falling in Love. Like I said, Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, romance movie, drama. I liked it. I believe this is the first time it's ever getting a Blu-ray release. A nice little tie-in here to Chasing Labels. Our good friend Scott Saslow, I believe, designed the cover art for this. I was talking with him when I posted it in our Facebook group, and he said that he's currently working on it, actually. and he decided to give a kind of a vintage, like 1984, like uh, 1984 look to it when it comes to the cover, specifically when it came to the train depot in the film and whatnot, and it looks very interesting. Go to the FunCityEditions.com website and you can see it. There's nothing that's been announced in the way of special features yet. This is coming out May 6th of 2025. All we've got here in terms of any details, it says 4K scan of its original 35 millimeter camera negative for this worldwide Blu-ray release. Worldwide Blu-ray release. Um, there is a limited edition slipcover for this that you can only find on the Fun City Editions website or diabolicdvd.com. So if you're going to pre-order it right now, or if you're going to buy this and you're a slipcover enthusiast like myself, you can only get it from their website or from diabolicdvd.com. Good to know. Good to know, because they've done this with a couple of their editions in the past and currently, actually. And once their slipcover editions sell out that are exclusive to their website, they're damn near impossible to get, at least affordably. And some of them are on eBay right now, and people are charging like so much money for them, and I'm like, yeah, that's a bit much. I want to get them, but that's a lot. It's a lot. But that is falling in love. Yeah, I I'm glad to get more Fun City editions. I have to get their two most recent releases that are currently still available on their website in Racing with the Moon and Lifeguard, two really good films. And of course their release of Baby It's You, the John Sayles film, is coming out in April 15th. That's another one to keep your eyes on. If you're a big John Sayles fan like myself and you just want more of his stuff in your collections, or if you're just happy that more of his stuff is getting Blu-ray releases now, or in some cases 4K releases, like with Criterion, you gotta check that movie out. So that is it for Fun City. Let's see what else we've got cooking here. Actually, let me get rid of the Fun City Edition tab. Let me go to Kino. Yes, let me go to Kino, because Kino always takes a little bit of time to get through. Maybe might as well do it now, but I'll do it quickly because there's always so much Kino. It was a little slower this time, but they did have two box sets. Their first box set here is something you may be familiar with. That is the Audie Murphy Collection. This is Audie Murphy Collection Volume 4. I did not realize we were on Volume 4 with Audie Murphy. So, Audie Murphy was a World War II hero who became an actor after the war. And he was in a lot of war films. He was in a lot of westerns. He's actually in this movie, A Time for Dying. I believe he is in this movie. He was a producer on this movie actually as well, produced by Audie Murphy. I believe Audie Murphy's in this film. But this box set has 3 films. It has The Kid from Texas from 1950, The Sumerian Kid from 1952, Drums Across the River. As you can assume, I believe they're all westerns. I don't know anything about them other than The Sumerian Kid is directed by Bud Bedecker. Another Bud Bedecker film is getting a release. That's nice. That's nice to see. Drums Across the River also has Walter Brennan in it. Walter Brennan is a great character actor. distinct voice. If you hear Walter Brennan's voice, you'll know it immediately. Yeah, so I don't know anything about these films, but just as coming soon on Blu-ray, so we don't even have any details when it comes to what the transfers look like, what the special features look like. I'm assuming we'll be getting commentaries for each film. That seems to be what Kino is doing these days when it comes to these releases, but we shall see. Next up is a big box set, and big for Kino and big in general. Coming soon on 4K, brand new HDR masters, is the Abbott and Costello Horror Collection, 1941 to 1955. This is a 4K box set of Abbott and Costello horror films. And the movies are Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer Boris Karloff, Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. So, what is interesting about this set here, these will only be 4K releases because uh, Shout Factory already has a Abbott and Costello Blu-ray box set that is currently in print that has all of these movies. Also, some of these movies have already been released, not only in the Shout Factory set, but also have been released either by themselves or as part of Universal Monsters collections, whether it be on DVD, whether it be Blu-ray, like I have. Um, these have already been out before, for the most part. Some of them have, like for example, um, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That's already available in the Blu-ray collection of the Mummy films that Universal's put out. So, like, if you have that, you have this movie already on Blu-ray. Granted, these will be 4K, probably look better, but still, you have them in your set. If you have that Shout set, which I'm going to look up right now, I think it's called Abbott and Costello, um, the complete, let's see, complete Universal, yeah, the complete Universal Pictures collection. Still in print, came out in 2019. It has 28 movies in it. My goodness, that's a lot of movies. And it's got, I think, all of those movies in this set here. So yeah, so it's one of those cases again where it looks like Kino just bought the 4K rights to these Abbott and Costello films. And that's what they're going to do. They did that with a lot of their other 4K releases that they've been putting out. Um, Coincidentally, a lot of their 4K releases that just went out of print at the end of last year were only 4K editions. For example, In the Heat of the Night, that was only on 4K because they only had the rights to that, while Criterion had the rights to the Blu-ray version. Now Criterion has the rights to the 4K, and they're putting it out. But that's a whole different story for a different time. But if you're a fan of Abbott and Costello, chances are you have these already. If you don't, you can get them on 4K. But like I said, you can get them on. They're available on Blu-ray right now. Once again, for people at home, it's Hold That Ghost, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet Killer Boris Karloff, Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I know from my collection alone, I have the Invisible Man one, I have the Mummy one, I have the Frankenstein one. Um, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is not in, I don't think, in any of those Universal Monster sets that I have on Blu-ray. Um, and Hold That Ghost, I don't think is either, but they can be found in the Abbott and Costello, the complete Universal collection from Shout Factory. Now, the big question comes is, what do we get in the terms of special features for this 4K box set from Kino? Since Shout Factory still has their box set um, in print, I'm assuming we won't be getting any of those special features that are attached to those movies. So will Kino be making their own features or just doing their usual commentaries for each film? We shall see. Yet again, it just says coming soon, so we don't know. Let's see. We've already talked about the movie Crack in the World. Crack in the World is coming out May 13th. This is the movie where Dana Andrews plays this scientist who is coming up with this idea to they want to get the geothermal energy from the center of the earth, but they can't get down there to get it. So they decide, you know what? We're going to send down a thermonuclear device deep within the earth's core and blow it up to get to it. Needless to say, the earth starts cracking. Hence the title of the movie, Crack in the World. But yeah, that's getting just a Blu-ray release coming out May 13th. We've got a movie called Vice Squad, which we've already talked about here on Chasing Labels from 1982, coming out May 13th as well. That's a 4K UHD and Blu-ray release. So I'll just go past that. Next, we've got a new announcement coming soon on 4K UHD. This is a big one, guys. Guys and gals and everyone else. Everybody's welcome here on Chasing Labels. Wayne's World 2 is getting a 4K UHD release. I am shocked and pleasantly surprised and ecstatic, and a couple of years ago Wayne's World got a 4K release and I was ecstatic then, and now I'm even more ecstatic now because I think Wayne's World 2, similar to many other comedy sequels doesn't get the same love as its original counterpart. And I think Wayne's World 2 is so much fun. For those of you who were around in the early 90s when these films came out, I was about 5 or 6 years old when these movies came out, and I absolutely adored them. I watched them so many times when I was a kid. Um, yeah, I've seen these movies so many times. Wayne's World 2. The second film is not directed by Penelope Spheris. The second film is directed by Steven Surchik, who directed The Punisher, Daredevil, and Reacher. Interesting. Um, but this film is stars, of course, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Christopher Walken, Tia Carrere, Chris Farley, James Hong, Rip Taylor's in the movie for like one scene. Ralph Brown, Aerosmith shows up at one point. Heather Locklear, Bob Odenkirk, Kevin Pollak is in one scene in the movie. Kim Basinger, Olivia Diabo, Drew Barrymore, Tim Meadows, Harry Shearer, Ted McKinley, Jay Leno, Ed O'Neill, and Charlton Heston's in one film, in one scene. This is the movie that they have to put on this rock show, and they're trying to figure that out. God, I love this movie. The fact that it's getting a 4K release is incredible, incredible. I hope we get some good special features too. Yeah, brand new HDR/DV master. I can't wait for Wayne's World 2. Awesome. Um, so awesome. And then next up here is another 4K UHD upgrade from a brand new HDR/DV master. And this is for the movie Kingpin, starring Woody Harrelson, Bill Murray, Randy Quaid. This movie is directed by Bobby and Peter Farrelly, the Farrelly brothers, who did Dumb and Dumbers. There's Something About Mary, Me, Myself, and Irene. And yeah, I've only seen Kingpin like once or twice in my life. This is the movie with Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray. It's a movie where Bill Murray plays like such a scumbag in it. It's been so many years since I've seen Kingpin. I remember when it came out, it was kind of a big deal. Let me get the IMDb synopsis here for everyone. So, a star bowler whose career was prematurely cut off hopes to ride a new prodigy to success and riches. Yeah, Woody Harrelson is kind of teaching this up and coming prodigy in Randy Quaid, I believe, in bowling. And to kind of like take on his former like rival or something. Um, yeah, that's Kingpin. So there's a couple of more here that weren't on Kino's Facebook page yet that I wanted to quickly mention. The movie Bottoms is finally getting a Blu-ray release. The movie Bottoms, which came out in 2023, which is the comedy starring Rachel Sennett as well as Ayo Edebiri. It's the movie directed by Emma Seligman. Emma Seligman, who directed one of my favorite movies the year it came out, in Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby is a great film. Shiva Baby got a Blu-ray release. Who did it get a Blu-ray release from? Let me take a look. It was a Vinegar Syndrome partner labels release from Utopia. Um, yeah, it was one of my favorite movies in 2020, which is when it came out. Gee, that was a long time ago. But yeah, so Bottoms is getting a Blu-ray release finally. Like it came out in 2023 and just never had a Blu-ray release from anyone. Um, which is a damn shame because it's an underrated comedy in my opinion. It's sophomoric. It's one of those types of comedies. So it's like two unpopular queer high school students start a fight club to have sex before graduation. It's exactly what you think it is. It's one of those kind of throwback teen comedies, starring Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri, who is just absolutely who stars blown up so much because of the show The Bear. She won like every single award you could win for a TV show, for that series. But I'm glad that that's finally getting a Blu-ray release. And then we've got I believe, where are you? It's Magnificent Deadly Sins. Magnificent Deadly Sins is Kino Cult number 30. I wanted to quickly mention that. See if I can see if there's even a. Yep, Kino Cult number 30 coming out May 27th. See, there's not even a synopsis here, so they're gonna make me go look someplace else. Oh, Blu-ray.com, you kill me sometimes when it comes to these things. It's like I like having them as like a one-stop shop for looking up the movie, looking up when it comes out, looking up special features, all that kind of stuff. But the Magnificent Seven Deadly Sins, is that what it's called? Hold on. No, I'm confused. Let's see. Yep, the Magnificent Seven Deadly Sins. That's what it's called. Magnificent Seven Deadly Sins. This early 70s British comedy takes us through 7 short stories based on the 7 deadly sins. This film is a montage of different styles, from Spike Milligan's Mainly Silent Sloth to the leering Harry H. Corbett in Lust. Oh, interesting. So it's kind of an anthology vignette type of situation going on here. Okay. I think that is it for Kino for now. While I'm here, I do want to mention there are 2 Deaf Crocodile releases that are coming out. The first one here is it's called Freckled Max and the Spooks. And when is this coming out? At the end of March. So I guess you can pre-order it now. It's coming out at the end of March. Let me see if I can get a synopsis here from Letterboxd. They seem to be more concise. Let's see. Now I gotta look through my watch list on Letterboxd to see if I can find it. Where are you? Okay. Probably easier if I just look it up straight away. That's what I'll do. Okay. Let me look this up right now. Freckled Max and the Spooks. Okay, 1987, a parody of Frankensteinian stories. It is a story of a little boy, an orphan who arrives at the castle of Count Frankenstein, a world inhabited by mysteries and sometimes a bit ridiculous, scary creatures. Although each one of them is different, they all share one thing: they feel lonely and they are desperate for a little love and affection. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? So that is Freckled Max and the Spooks. And then we've got another film here. Let's see, where are you? Hold on, I have to go back to the right. There we are. I Married a Strange Person. This is another Bill Plimpton animated film. So, I Married a Strange Person from 1997, directed by Bill Plimpton. On their wedding night, Grant begins experiencing strange supernatural powers, and his bride, Carrie, can't cope. Whenever Grant thinks of something, it becomes reality, yet he doesn't know where this magic came from. Things become more complicated when a megalomaniac CEO sends the military to capture Grant in order to weaponize his abilities. So I've seen this movie because it is available to stream on Tubi right now. What is interesting is that some Deaf Crocodile releases are available to stream now. Not so much when they were announced, and not so much when Deaf Crocodile first started. I noticed that it was really hard to find Deaf Crocodile titles to stream. You can find a lot of them on Canopy now. You can find some of them on Tubi now. It's really great because it makes my job a heck of a lot easier than having to hunt these down in other ways. But I Married a Strange Person is weird, crazy animation. Bill Plimpton was such an interesting, just animator and director and all that stuff, and he certainly had a unique sense of style. I'll say that. But I wanted to make sure that people knew that these two Deaf Crocodile releases were coming on their way. And I think, yeah, these are both from on Blu-ray in the US from Deaf Crocodile in late March. Yeah, and you can find Deaf Crocodile's releases on their website, and you can find them at diabolicdvd.com as well. I think that's who they partnered up with in terms of releasing their stuff. They do also end up on places like Orbit DVD after they come out and stuff like that. So they're you can find them. You can find them. Like I said, they're gettable. They're gettable. Let's see what else we've got here in terms of things to look at. Let me go over. Okay, so Scream Factory, Shout Factory announced their May releases today. Well, actually yesterday, I think. Either way, doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. So we've got Scent of a Woman is getting a 4K release. Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow is getting a 4K release. What Lies Beneath is getting a 4K release. We have a movie called The Colors Within, which I believe is an anime. Yeah, that's an anime. And then they're coming out with another box set. So for those of you keeping track at home, Shout Factory is in the box set game now. They've got all their Shaw Brothers Classics box set. They've got their Golden Harvest box sets. They've got their Shaw Brothers adjacent box sets. And now they've got a Blaxpolitation Classics Volume 1 4K box set, which has the movies Across 110th Street, Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem, Coffee, Sheba Baby. Both of those films star Pam Grier, and Truck Turner. Now, this release here is a pretty big release. It's 6 movies, but it is 12 discs. Yeah, so it's a pretty big box set, needless to say. And yeah, I'm fascinated by this release. Across 110th Street, I know had a Blu-ray release, I think from Imprint. Coffee and Sheba Baby, I've already had releases before. Obviously, I don't think 4K. Yeah, Coffee had been released in 2015 from, I think, Shout Factory. Yeah, that's a Shout Factory. No, Olive Films. Sorry, Olive Films. Let's see, but Coffee had a UK release from Arrow back in 2015. Had an Olive Films release here. And also had, oh yeah, it's getting a big time collector's edition Blu-ray release. Oh, actually, I got one last year. Big time collector's edition Blu-ray release in Australia from Umbrella. That's who it was. Umbrella. And then Sheba Baby. Sheba Baby had a Blu-ray release from Arrow here in the US. And let's see what else it had. And then, of course, it had the Arrow release in the UK. And Sheba Baby, and that's it. I thought it had an Australian release, but no, it did not. I had to get caught up in all my Pam Grier Blu-ray lore, I guess. But yeah, this release here is pretty massive. I wanted to see if there was any announcement when it came to special features for it, but I don't think so yet. I have to do some research on that. And by research, I mean scrolling up furiously while I vamp. While I vamp and talk to you all. Goodness gracious, there's a lot of stuff. Let's see. There it is. So, yeah, some info about yeah. Oh yeah, there are special features. Okay. So disc 1 is across 110th Street 4K, disc 2 is across 110th Street Blu-ray. Now the Blu-rays will have all the special features on this release. Yeah, they've got new features. Yeah, so across 110th Street has a new feature. Looks like each movie at least has a commentary. Yeah, they're all getting new 4K scans each film. Yeah, so this is gonna be a pretty good set. They're at least pretty much 110th Street's the only one that has anything in terms of, like, major special features. Coffee has an interview with director Jack Hill, and an interview with Pam Grier, audio commentary with the director. Everything else is kind of just has, like, an audio commentary, and that's pretty much it. I would say that across 110th Street and Coffee are probably the 2 most well-known films, in this set. So that's probably why, but yeah, this is still a pretty massive set from Shout Factory. But let's see what else we've got here. So while I'm here, because the Blu-ray.com, which is where I got the list from, doesn't give us any of these details. I had to go over to our friend the Disconnected's Facebook page to get any info whatsoever. So Blaxpolitation, Classics Volume 1. So What Lies Beneath is the film starring Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. I've actually never seen that movie. Um, so it's kind of I think it's a thriller. Yeah, it says in this riveting supernatural thriller, Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer play a married couple who uncover a terrible a secret so disturbing it threatens to destroy them. Um, yeah, coming out May 6th. Let's see, The Colors Within, like I said, is an anime film. Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow from 2004. I've been wanting to watch this movie for 20 years, and I just never have. I remember when it came out, I remember seeing trailers for it, I remember it coming out, and I remember people being so disappointed with it, which is damn unfortunate because at that time, these kind of fun adventure films I thought were all the rage. Especially at that time, Angelina Jolie was doing like her action stuff. She had just been in I think both Tomb Raider films before this film. So she was like a big action star at the time. Um, so this movie definitely has a cult following. Um, yeah, I remember wanting to see it and never did. I remember my uncle was a big fan of it because this was his type of jam type of movie. Um, yeah, let's see. Well, when giant robots attack New York City, intrepid reporter Polly Perkins enlists the aid of ace aviator and old flame Joseph Sky Captain Sullivan, who is Jude Law, to stop a plot to destroy the world before it's too late. Co-starring Academy Award winner Angelina Jolie. Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow will thrill and amaze you right through to the action-packed finale. Um, yeah, that's the movie. Sky Captain: World of Tomorrow. It's been available on DVD and Blu-ray for years. But the fact that it's getting a 4K release is nice for those of you who are fans of it. And then next we've got a movie that I really, really like a lot. I may be one of the biggest fans of this movie, and that is Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino and Chris O'Donnell. This is the only film that Al Pacino won an Oscar for. He didn't win it for any of the three Godfather films, didn't win it for Scarface, didn't win it for anything else. He won his Oscar for Scent of a Woman. The 1992 film, Scent of a Woman. The legendary Al Pacino once again proves that he is one of the cinema's finest actors with his Academy Award winning portrayal of Frank Slade, an overbearing retired lieutenant colonel. Slade, who is blind, hires young prep student Charlie Sims, Chris O'Donnell, as his assistant, and the two very different men embark on a wild weekend trip that will change both of their lives forever. Directed by Martin Brest, who directed Midnight Run and Meet Joe Black. Martin Brest, underrated director. His career ended, unfortunately, after he directed the movie Gialli with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, and that was it. But he directed Midnight Run, which is great. Midnight Run has a Blu-ray release from Shout. and a 4K release from Shout. It's a great looking Blu-ray, probably a great looking 4K. I don't have it yet, but that movie is awesome. Robert De Niro, Charles Grodin, great movie. But Scent of a Woman, I've always really liked. I own it on Blu-ray, uh, and I've watched it so many times. It's the one where um, Al Pacino does a lot of yelling. Got a lot of yelling in the movie, and he's just a hard ass. You know, what's his name? Like, what's his name in the movie again? I just Frank Slade. Frank Slade, and Chris O'Donnell is his like young caretaker who is basically just to like make sure he doesn't do anything crazy over like some type of like a weekend, or it's like a holiday break from school or something. And Chris O'Donnell doesn't go home for this holiday, and he takes a job taking care of Al Pacino's character. And Al Pacino's character takes him on this kind of wild goose chase to New York, and they do all kinds of stuff together and whatnot. Um, I really like the movie personally. It's a 2-disc edition. Disc 1 is the 4K UHD. It's a new 4K scan from the original camera negative, supervised by director Martin Brest. Nice. Presented in Dolby Vision, HDR10 compatible, and so you get both versions of HDR there. Let's see. You do get a new special feature on here. One last tour of the battlefield, directing Scent of a Woman, a retrospective interview with director Martin Brest. New Just Tango on editing Scent of a Woman, an interview with co-editor Michael Tronick. Nice. You get something. You get something. Cool, cool, cool. Um, I've always been a fan of that movie. But yeah, so that is it for that. Let me do. There's a quick thing I want to do here. 88 Films had their June announcements, and I just kind of paid attention to it today, so I am not hip with it at all. But I want to at least get the rundown here. So 88 Films, they just announced their May stuff. Now they're announcing their June stuff too. Their release announcement schedule is wild. They'll drop 1 month's worth, they'll drop 3 months worth, they'll drop random announcements here and there. 88 Films, they don't really have any rhyme or reason for any of this. But anyway, all of these are releasing June 23rd from 88 Films. Witch from Nepal, Devil Fetus, Her Vengeance, The Black Torment, Private Club, Species getting a 4K UHD Deluxe Limited Edition dual format, Murder Rock, which is getting a 4K UHD Deluxe Limited Edition as well, Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye, which is also getting a Deluxe Collector's Edition as well, Zebraman 2, which is part of their Japanarchy line, Gate of Flesh, also part of their Japanarchy line, which is also coming out in a US version, Armor of God 2, the 4K UHD Deluxe Limited Edition, and then Come Drink With Me is getting a 4K UHD edition as well. Come Drink With Me already has a Blu-ray release by Arrow, at least that I'm aware of. That's something they came out with before they even released their Big Shaw Scope box sets. Come Drink With Me, they already put out on Blu-ray at that time, but this is the 4K of that. But yeah, I just wanted to just get all of that out of the way. Just at least mention that 88 Films is already set through June. They're already set through June. That's pretty cool. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's move along. Let's see. I think we're moving right along. So, Eureka. I completely forgot to get the Eureka announcements up. I am awful at this game. So I've got to go to Eureka's Facebook page and see what I can cook up on the fly. I know Eureka's got at least 3 announcements, 2 box sets actually, 2 interesting box sets that are like complete opposites of one another. Let me take a look here because they announced their stuff earlier than they usually do this month, or last month rather, because we are now in March. Let's see, scrolling through their stuff. Let's see, they've got. Nope. Their May releases. Yes, these are their May releases. So we've got Terror in the Fog, the Wallace Krimi, It says Terror in the Fog, the Wallace Krimi at CCC, 5 crime thrillers produced by Arthur Bronner, adapted from the works of British crime writer Brian Edgar Wallace and his father Edgar Wallace, are coming on to Blu-ray as part of the Masters of Cinema series from May 26, 2025 in the UK and from May 27, 2025 in North America. So it's a region A and B release. That's kind of nice. The limited edition box set of 2,000 copies will exclusively feature a hardbound slipcase and 60-page collector's book. Special features and pre-order links in the comments. Okay, not helpful. Not helpful to me. Let me quickly go to the Eureka store. See what they've got in terms of special features. Yes. Actually, it'd be much easier if I just had gone to their website, but whatever. So all 5 films presented in 1080p HD from 2K restorations of the original film elements undertaken by CCC Films. I want to get a list of all the movies. Let's see. The Curse of the Yellow Snake, The Strangler of Blackmore Castle, The Mad Executioners, The Monster of London City, and The Racetrack Murders. Those are the movies in this box set. And these are all, I believe, from the 1960s. Let's see. So in the 1960s, a cycle of crime films, or Krimis, became hugely popular with West German audiences, adapted from works by British crime writer Edgar Wallace and his son Brian Edgar Wallace. They combined the traditional murder mystery with horror as they depicted enigmatic killers stalking their victims through foggy English landscapes, from the streets of London to isolated rural mansions. Following the early successes of the cycle after the release of The Face of the Frog and The Crimson Cycle, veteran producer Arthur Bronner launched into his own series of Wallace Krimis with his company CCC Film. Presented here are 5 key films drawn from the CCC's Krimi cycle. They also produced, if I remember correctly, the Dr. Mabuse sequels. I believe that was from this same company, and I believe Eureka is already put out a release of those Dr. Mabuse sequels. So as you've probably guessed, these are all German films from the 1960s, specifically West German films. For those of you who don't know, after World War II, they put up the Berlin Wall, splitting Germany in half to East Germany and West Germany. East Germany was kind of part of the USSR, the Soviet Union. West Germany was part of the West. hence the geographical titles there. As many of you probably know, in the early 90s, the Berlin Wall got taken down. Big thing. The end of the USSR, the end of the Soviet Union. All kinds of historical things happening seemingly all the time now. Seemingly all the time. Thank you, Jeff. I completely forgot to mention this. So my buddy Jeff K backing me up once again today. He says, young Philip Seymour Hoffman, Incentive of Woman as well. Yes. Young Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace. Probably, without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, one of the greatest actors of our time, Philip Seymour Hoffman. But of course, he was young once, and in the early 90s, he was in Scent of a Woman. He plays one of Chris O'Donnell's classmates. Kind of a jerky classmate who gets him in a bit of trouble. Chris O'Donnell's character, actually. And it's very interesting in that movie how Chris O'Donnell's you can tell he doesn't come from money like the rest of his schoolmates do. And especially the Philip Seymour Hoffman character, who comes from money, like rich parents who probably give an endowment to the school so the kid can get away with everything. While Chris O'Donnell, I'm assuming, is there on probably scholarship, probably financial aid, something like that. As someone who went to private school, similar to Chris O'Donnell's situation where, financial aid and stuff like that, definitely you can see the difference in the two worlds that this movie shows. Really interesting kind of dynamic there in terms of a hierarchy within our social status when it comes to money, which is still very much a thing today. But back to Eureka. Let's see. The second box set they are releasing is called Strange New Worlds Science Fiction at DEFA. So we've got some movies in here as well. The Silent Stars, Signals a Space Adventure, Iolomea, In the Dust of the Stars. Now, Signals a Space Adventure and In the Dust of the Stars, I believe, are getting a Def Crocodile release here in the U.S. in the Region A land, if I remember correctly. But let's get to what this is. Following the division of Germany in the aftermath of World War II, which I just talked about, DEFA was established at the state-owned film studio at East Germany. Okay, so the other box set is West German films. This is East German films. I like how they're doing that. The film studio of East Germany, or the German Democratic Republic, acted from 1946 until its dissolution in 1992, which is when the Berlin Wall came down. The studio made hundreds of feature films in a diverse range of genres, from hard-hitting dramas to crime thrillers, fairy tale adaptations, and westerns. During the 1960s and 70s, it also produced a series of colorful and wildly imaginative science fiction films in which courageous cosmonauts attempt to unravel the secrets of the universe. The Silent Star, Signals a Space Adventure, Iolomea, and In the Dust of Stars. Interesting. This comes with a 60-page collector's book as well. It's a limited edition hard case featuring new artwork. We've got all 4 films presented in 1080p HD from restorations by the DEFA Foundation. Reversible inner sleeve art, and you've got a few special features here as well. It just goes over, it says, Signals a Space Adventure presented from a new 6K scan of the original 70mm camera negative. Iolomea presented from a 4K scan of the original 70mm camera negative. The Silent Star and Dust of the Stars presented from 2K scans of the original 35mm camera negative. Yeah. There's like a new audio commentaries on all 4 of the films. A lot of special features here. I think there were a lot of special features on the other release as well, on the Terror in the Fog. There are, yes. These are 2 really nice box sets. Eureka's really good. Eureka is a solid company. They do a lot of good work. I don't have a lot of their releases in my collection because they've been pretty much Region B locked up until last year or the year before. So they've been making their way to Region A land, but people have been importing their releases for years. I know I have. There's a lot of crossover between them and Arrow in terms of releases. And in terms of other Region A companies, there's a lot of Region A versions of stuff they put out over in Region B land. So it's kind of a mix and match game for a lot of us collectors. But Eureka's always done some really good stuff. Always has. I have their Blu-ray release of The Cat and the Canary, which I have around here somewhere, which who knows, it's in one of these stacks. I really need to start organizing these things because it's getting absurd where I don't remember where things are. That's what I got to do tonight after the show. So I got to do some type of organizing here. For those of you watching on the stream, you don't even know what I've got around me. But yeah, let me continue with Eureka, because Eureka has one more release, and it is called The Bells of Death. Great title. Great title. And let's see. A standout wuxia film heavily influenced by both the long-standing Japanese samurai tradition and the emergent spaghetti western, The Bells of Death is a fantastical tale of revenge produced by Shaw Brothers Studio, directed by a prolific Wei Fang, Wei Fang, and starring Chang Yi, and one of his earliest roles. It says Wu Fei. Yeah, Wu Fei is a simple woodcutter that is, at least until he gives directions to a group of bandits he encounters on a lonely road, sending them in the direction of his family home. He returns to find the criminals have murdered his parents and younger brother. While his sister has been kidnapped, claimed by Chief Bandit Tao Ching Lung as his new bride, desperate for revenge, Wu Fei finds a way forward when he encounters a master swordsman who takes the woodcutter under his wing and prepares him to take his bloody revenge. Now, I believe The Bells of Death is already available in one of the aforementioned box sets from Shout Factory. Let me check right away. Bells of Death. Let's see. It looks like it's in the Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1 set. Yep, it is. So you can already get it here in Region Alien. I'm assuming the special features are different. Um, Also, I say this every single time I talk about these box sets. They are a little expensive. Shaw Factory's box sets are a little expensive, at least for me. At least for me. I know there are many of you listening at home who probably have them. If you do have the Shaw Brothers Classics box sets from Shaw Factory, how are they? How are they in comparison to the Blu-ray box sets from Arrow? I'm just curious. I'm just very curious. There's several of them now, so I'm assuming the Shell Factory box sets do sell, regardless of price. Um, let's see what we got here for the Bells of Death. Let's see. Limited edition O-Card slipcase, limited edition 2,000 copies. Let's see. New audio commentary by East Asian cinema expert Frank Zhang. New commentary by action cinema experts Mike Leader and Arn Venema. For Whom the Bell Tolls, a new interview with Wayne Wong, editor of Martial Arts Studies. That's it. That was a collector's booklet as well. But that is it from Eureka. All right. For some reason, I thought I had forgot to put them in my notes, but I did not. So that is 2 box sets and a Shaw Brothers release. We have Terror in the Fog, the Wallace Crimis at... Is it Creamy or Crimis? The Wallace Creamy at CCC. We'll call it that. Terror in the Fog, the Wallace Creamy at CCC. Then we've got Strange New Worlds, science fiction at DEFA. And then we've got The Bells of Death. All coming out at Eureka, I believe in May. Yes, May. Okay. Let's see. How are we doing in terms of time? I believe we're moving right along. Yeah. This may be a record for me. I say that, and the next thing you know, I'm here for another hour and a half. But let's see. There's only one more here of... Oh no, there's another slate here. There's a one-off, and then there's the Arrow slate, and then we'll move on to Vinegar Syndrome. Yes. So the one-off I have here is The Proud Rebel, which is a ClassicFlix release. Let's see, The Proud Rebel. I just saw this earlier today. Well, I saw this release announcement. Yeah, so this is coming out May. So The Proud Rebel had a release from ClassicFlix last year. Hold on. No, it had a release last year from a company called Real Vault Inc., who I have no idea who that is. But it looks like ClassicFlix is putting out their own release of this on Blu-ray. And this film is directed by Michael Curtiz, starring Alan Ladd and Olivia de Havilland. That immediately piques my interest right away. But yeah, it says ClassicFlix has dated its upcoming Blu-ray release of Michael Curtiz's The Proud Rebel, starring Alan Ladd, Olivia de Havilland. This release is scheduled to arrive on the market on May 20th. The description: a Confederate veteran living in the Yankee North struggles with his son's shock-induced muteness and the Northerners' hatred. I think I've seen this film before. Let me go check my Letterboxd. Let's see, The Proud Rebel. Always been a fan of Alan Ladd. Solid actor. He's always been good. He's been in film noirs. He's been in westerns. Yeah, I have seen The Proud Rebel. When did I see this? Let's see. Show your activity. I watched The Proud Rebel last August. Okay. Right on. So now we'll go over to Arrow. Let's see. Arrow had an interesting month, kind of a weaker month. I know. I know that maybe not weak for some, but I thought it was a little bit of a weaker month. But we've got some good months leading up to it, so it doesn't really quite matter. And what's interesting, I always say this here on Chasing Labels. I've said it for years. If a release slate from a specific boutique label is weak one month and you don't really have any interest in what they're putting out or less interest in what they're putting out than usual, just wait till next month because they're gonna have a whole new crop of stuff coming out. So yeah, so we've got a few things here. One thing we knew was coming out is one of these spaghetti westerns from Sergio Leone. For a few dollars more, it's getting its 4K. It's getting a 4K and a Blu-ray release. Let's see here. Let me go over to Blu-ray.com to see if they have for a few dollars more. See if they have the list here because it's so much easier. Let's see. Of course they don't. That would just make things way too easy for me. Let me go back here. So for a few dollars more, it's getting a 4K UHD as well as a Blu-ray release. Coming with good amount of special features. I don't know what the special features look like comparison-wise to the Kino release. I didn't do that research. I apologize for that. But either way, this Arrow release looks like it's coming with a ton of special features. Yeah, that second disc, which looks like just all special features on this release, looks pretty darn stacked. Pretty darn stacked. Let's see. So there's that, and then there's the Andromeda Strain, which is the movie based on the Michael Crichton book. Before he created Westworld and Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton first blurred the line between science fiction and science fact with his breakout success, The Andromeda Strain, 2 years after the novel's publication. Robert Wise, who's a great director, mind you, directed the film adaptation, a nail-biting blend of clinically realized docudrama and astonishing sci-fi visuals that ushered in a new subgenre, the killer virus biological thriller. Yeah, this is one of the first films where this mysterious killer virus type of thing is threatening to wipe out massive amounts of humanity. And this is one of the first films to really kind of hit hard on that. And it's something that's used all the way up to today. All the way up to today. They've readapted the Andromeda Strain since then, but the rest of the plot is as such. A government satellite crashes outside a small town in New Mexico, and within minutes, every inhabitant of the town is dead except for a crying baby and an elderly derelict. The satellite and the two survivors are sent to Wildfire, a top-secret underground laboratory equipped with a nuclear self-destruct mechanism to prevent the spread of infection in case of an outbreak. So you've got this mysterious thing that happened to this small town, and now people have to investigate what happened. So they take this satellite that crash landed onto Earth because they think that's the source of the issue. They bring it to this super underground laboratory. They bring in a team of expert scientists to run tests. They have these two survivors that they isolated and they're running tests on them. The movie is very like I said, like a docudrama where they're running tests, they're getting results, they're standing around hypothesizing about what could be going on. And the movie is rather slow in that regard. It's not super exciting. It pretty much takes place entirely in that bunker location. And the movie kind of only really gets exciting during its third act climax, to be quite honest. But I liked it. I like that kind of slow 70s, I would say thriller in quotes, thriller, if you will. Michael Crichton's films, or at least books, are interestingly scientific, and the adaptations of them are rather good. Westworld was good, Jurassic Park is good. That's the movie. It's getting a 4K UHD edition, 4K restoration from the original camera negative by Arrow. Let's see, what do we got here for special features? Audio commentary by critic Brian Reisman. A new strain of science fiction and appreciation by critic Kim Newman. The Andromeda strain making the film an archive featurette, and some other stuff here, some other archival stuff. But that is the Andromeda strain. Let's see what else we've got here. We got a movie called Steppenwolf, which I've never seen. Never seen. A brutal story of an unlikely duo who will stop at nothing to find what they are looking for. Adelakan Yerjavanov's award-winning film Steppenwolf is a nihilistic, hyper-violent redemption tale filled with social commentary. A must-see for fans of ultra-violent, vicious, and unforgiving revenge films. Okay. Tamara, a young lady consumed by trauma, searches for her missing son in a small town dominated by riots and violence in a desperate attempt to get him back. She teams up with an amoral former police investigator whose methods prove to be frequently cruel and sadistic. Quietly determined, Tamara decides to complete the mission with the nihilistic detective no matter the cost, as the pair embark on a bloody and bullet-riddled road trip in their combined search for salvation. Oh, sounds interesting. Sounds very vintage Arrow, to be quite honest. Arrow used to do a lot of films like this, a lot of film releases like this. Let's see. I believe this is only a Blu-ray release. It is. Brand new audio commentary by Steppenwolf with critic and pop culture historian David Flint. Recorded exclusively for Arrow Video in 2025, reading Steppenwolf as transnational post-western, a brand new visual essay by author, film historian, and academic Lee Broughton, exploring the use of American and Italian western genre tropes in Steppenwolf and other films from around the world. That sounds fascinating. There's a making of special feature here, and then a booklet as well. That sounds fascinating. Let's see what else we've got here. I Will Never Leave You Alone, which sounds ominous. Writer and director D.W. Medoff crafts an innovative and chilling take on the haunted house formula with I Will Never Leave You Alone, a surreal nightmare where the psychological and the supernatural collide to terrifying effect. After being released from prison, Richard is given an opportunity to restart his life by a mysterious company who offer him $5,000 to spend 6 days in a dilapidated house to cleanse it of evil spirits. I don't need to read the rest. I know where this is going. I know a haunted house when I see one. Things are going to go bump in the night, and not in a fun, like, Ghostbusters way. Things are going to go south really quickly. All right. Let's see. For special features here, looks like it's only a Blu-ray release. Newly filmed interview with writer and director D.W. Medoff. Scene select commentary with writer and director D.W. Medoff. Yeah, and then 3 short films by the director as well. But what is most interesting are these last 2 announcements here. A pair of Friday the 13th films. We've got Jason Goes to Hell, and we've got Jason X getting 4K UHD releases. Now, for those of you keeping track at home, I believe Arrow has already put out a couple of Friday the 13th releases. Let's see. Friday the 13th. Let me go to... So they released Friday the 13th, the 2009 re-release. They released that in 4K. And what else are there? Is that it? And they've released Friday the 13th Part 2 in 4K. So it looks like to me they're releasing the Friday the 13th films on 4K individually. That seems to be my understanding. At least that seems to be the pattern going on here. As opposed to here in Region A land, we got all of them released in a Blu-ray box set from Shout Factory. And that's how I have them in my collection. What's interesting is that they're bouncing around. Like, for example, they released Part 2 in 4K last October. They released the remake from 2009 last September. And now they're releasing Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. Maybe it's just due to when they have the elements available to them to be able to make them. That's when they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like a first come, first serve. Hey, we've got the elements for Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. Let's put them together and let's put out this release, as opposed to waiting for the original Friday the 13th to get all those elements together when it comes to the special features, when it comes to the elements for the 4K release, all this kind of stuff. That's my guess. Because things take time, things take money, things take effort. All of these releases do. But back to what's going on with Jason Goes to Hell, which is not one of the better Jason films, I would say. After dying, coming back, taking Manhattan, and dying again, Jason Voorhees is now back as a body snatcher in Jason Goes to Hell, an impossibly fun slice of campy, supernatural slasher action. Jason Voorhees is finally dead, or is he? After being blown to smithereens in a sting operation, the infamous killer's body is taken to the morgue in Youngstown, Ohio. But Jason can't be killed so easily, and his still beating heart possesses the body of the coroner performing his autopsy. The now body-hopping Jason begins hacking and slashing his way to his stomping grounds of Crystal Lake, where his last living relatives, Diana, her daughter Jessica, and her newborn baby Stephanie still reside. Only by them can he be truly killed, and only through them can he be reborn. So that's the premise of this movie. Jason's spirit basically starts body hopping throughout the movie and doing stuff. That's Jason Goes to Hell. The title of the movie is better than the actual movie. But let's see what we got here for special features. It's a 4K UHD release. It's presented in Dolby Vision HDR10 compatible. Both the theatrical cut and the unrated cut are available in that form. Reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Gary Pullen. Double-sided fold-out poster. Let's see, illustrated collector's booklet. Let's see, disc 1 theatrical release. Disc 2 is the unrated cut. And it says, we got an intro by director Adam Marcus, Faces of Death, a brand new interview with special makeup effects creator Robert Kurtzman. Undercover Angel, a brand new interview with actor Julie Michaels. Mixing It Up, a brand new interview with composer Harry Manfredini. The Gates of Hell, an archival interview with director Adam Marcus. Jason vs. Terminator, director Adam Marcus on Growing Up with the Cunninghams. Uber Jason, an archival interview with Kane Hodder on Playing Jason. Additional TV footage, blah, etc., etc. The unrated cut is a brand new audio commentary with film historians Michael Felsher and Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. And there's an archival audio commentary with the director and author Peter Brack. And another commentary here with the director and screenwriter Dean Lorre. Wow, 3 audio commentaries for that unrated cut. Interesting. Then we've got the funnest, or one of the funnest Jason films, at least outside of Freddy vs. Jason, and that is Jason X. I remember when this movie came out, I remember seeing standees of this movie at movie theaters. I remember seeing the posters at movie theaters. I remember seeing the trailer, TV spots, all kinds of stuff. So it's now time for Jason Voorhees to boldly go where no serial killer has gone before. In Jason X, a spectacular sci-fi twist on the Friday the 13th franchise, brought to you to life by legendary special effects supervisor Jim Isaac, who worked on Gremlins and Existence. The year is 2455, way in the future. Humanity has left an overly populated Earth for a new planet they've christened Earth 2. A crew of scientists on an expedition to Earth 1 discover a research facility near Camp Crystal Lake, where Jason Voorhees' body has been cryogenically frozen. They decide to bring him back on their spaceship. Why not? But in doing so, they seal their doom as they depart once again for the furthest stars. The masked maniac awakens, ready to kill again. Now, this movie features the uber super jacked space Jason. And yeah, he awakens, of course, in space and starts wreaking havoc against this crew of poor bastards. 4K UHD release, introduction by actor Kane Hodder, brand new audio commentary with film historians Michael Felsher and Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. There's another audio commentary by writer Tard Farmer and author Peter Brock. Another commentary by Jim Isaac, writer Todd Farmer, and producer Noel Cunningham. Brand new interview with composer Harry Manfredini. Let's see, a bunch of other special features on here as well. Actually, a lot of special features. That's nice for a movie that is as campy and is a bit of a cult fave as Jason X. It's kind of nice they're giving it a nice deluxe release, I guess. Um, yeah, Jason X is a lot more fun to watch than Jason Goes to Hell, in my opinion. But that's just me. Um, let's see. What else do we got here? I think that's it for Arrow, and now we can go on to Vinegar Syndrome. Yes, let me switch over to Vinegar Syndrome, and we will go through these releases here, as well as their partner label releases. Unfortunately, this is going to be a little quick because I didn't get to see a lot of these these movies. It March 1st was Friday, so it dropped around noon on no, March 1st was Saturday. Sorry. March 1st was Saturday, and these titles dropped around noon on Saturday, and all I had was that night, Sunday, but I spent like 3.5 hours, 4 hours watching the Oscars, so that cut into me watching this, and then I had Monday to watch some stuff as well. So I didn't get through a lot of them, but I got through enough to where hopefully you guys can get a gist of what's coming out and what's good. But off the bat, let's run down the Vinegar Syndrome announcements. There are 6 from Vinegar Syndrome. And we've got coming on 4K UHD from Vinegar Syndrome proper is Brimstone and Treacle. Then we've got Devil Fetus / Her Vengeance. That's a double feature. Then we've got Forgotten Gialli Volume 8. We're up to Volume 8 now when it comes to the Forgotten Gialli box sets. Then we've got Vinegar Syndrome from Vinegar Syndrome Labs, The Belly of an Architect, and then from Cinématographe, Last of the Red Hot Lovers. And then Degausser Video is 30 Especial, essentially, or special. That is their kind of shot on video sub-label they've got going on. From stuff that I saw Brimstone and Treacle. Brimstone and Treacle is based on a play. This play had an adaptation in, I think, in 1976 that was supposed to air on the BBC, but it never got to because the movie the play itself is rather dark and disturbing, and the BBC decided to pull it at the last second. So years later, they readapted it into a movie in 1982, starring Sting and starring also Denholm Elliott, who portrayed the same character he did in the play, or I think in the 1976 version adaptation. And also Joan Plowright, who just passed away about a year ago. Joan Plowright, she's in this film as well. So this movie, originally written for British television by legendary dramatist Dennis Potter, the resulting 1976 BBC TV play was deemed too controversial that it was pulled prior to airing and not broadcast until 1987, the year I was born. The 1982 film version of Brimstone and Treacle, adapted for the big screen by Potter, with director Richard Loncraine, who directed The Haunting of Julia, which we've talked about here before. He also directed Richard III. Is a haunting and deeply disturbing slice of modern British Gothic with an electrifying central performance by Sting. You know who Sting is from The Police. The musician, also sometimes actor, Sting. He was in David Lynch's Dune. He was also in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, the Guy Ritchie film. Sting is in the role of Martin Taylor alongside celebrated actors Denholm Elliott and Joan Plowright, accompanied by a pulsing score from The Police. There you go. Brimstone and Treacle at last arrives on UHD with a brand new 4K restoration from the original negative. So this movie is interesting. Dark movie. So you've got this couple portrayed by Denholm Elliott and Joan Plowright, who have this daughter she's bedridden, and she's kind of got some mental health issues, where I believe she's gotten some brain damage because of this car accident she was in or something like that. They're not really too definitive on the situation, other than her daughter went from went from one situation to a saddened other situation. And one day the father is just kind of walking around somewhere. I think he's like shopping or something, and he runs into Sting, who is portrays this character of Martin Taylor, and they bump into each other, and basically the Sting character says, "Hey, like kind of like pretends like he knows him, like, oh yeah, I know you and all this kind of stuff, nice to see you again and all this kind of stuff." Basically plays it off as if he knows him, but they've never met each other before. But there's something sinister, there's something wrong with this character portrayed by Sting, Martin Taylor, something not quite right, something messed up about him. And he comes off actually throughout the film as Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell's character from the Stanley Kubrick film. He's got that sinister, quirky vibe to him, that there's something evil lurking underneath and at any point can come out. And so what he does, this Martin character, is he steals this guy's wallet. So he finds out where his address is, and he goes and he says, "Oh yeah, I know your daughter. We went to school together. We were really close." And they're like, and so the father's like, "Oh, unfortunately, the way she is now." And the Martin character is like, "Oh yeah, I know, I heard about it, but I haven't seen her and all this kind of stuff. I should come by sometime." But anywho, he ends up showing up at their house unannounced in the middle of the night, very creepy like. And he ends up ingratiating himself into this family by basically saying, oh, like he ends up staying the night, and then he ends up ingratiating himself with the Joan Plowright character, kind of weaseling his way into this family. But man, there's something sinister about this guy. And you can tell that the other shoe's about to drop this whole time, because he just seems evil. He just seems evil. Now I think it may metaphorically be like he may be a devilish type of character, like a demon type of character. We just don't quite know. But good movie, good performance, unsettling film, dark film. Well, let's see what we got here for special features. 2-disc set, 4K UHD, and a Blu-ray. Let's see, newly scanned and restored in 4K. Newly recorded select scene audio commentary with lead actor Sting and director Richard Loncrane. That runs 41 minutes long. Trouble Brewing, 26 minutes. An interview with director Richard Loncrane. A House for the Devil, 16-minute interview with production designer Millie Burns. A Big Visions and Small Screens, Dennis Potter on film. Film historians John Dare and John Williams on the big screen adaptation of Dennis Potter. That's it. That is it. Yeah, really creepy stuff going on here in that movie. Next, I didn't get to see the Devil Fetus / Her Vengeance. I know it's a category 3 double feature. I know that, so it's gonna be wild and disturbing and creepy and gross and all kinds of stuff. You can just imagine given it's a category 3 rating and its initial release, thanks to an unrelenting feast of on-screen grotesqueries. That's for the Devil Fetus. And Her Vengeance is also a category 3 film, I believe. With its feet planted firmly in the world of exploitation cinema, Her Vengeance plays as an even more extreme version of I Spit on Your Grave. You can, for those of you at home, I just gave a look to the camera of this is exactly what you expect from a category 3 film. And I think Her Vengeance comes with a censored version where it's a less graphic category 2B version intended for a wider release. So you get 2 versions of Her Vengeance and 1 version of Devil Fetus. Let's see, it's a 2-disc edition, commentary for Her Vengeance, and there's a commentary for Devil Fetus. It's a video essay for Her Vengeance, a video essay by Sam Deegan on Her Vengeance as well, 20-page book. All right. that's that. Moving on to, I just want to list the Forgotten Gialli films because I didn't really get to watch them. I've been wanting to get these Forgotten Gialli sets for years, and I never do. And it's one of my biggest collecting regrets because they seem so cool, and it seems like the only way to see these Forgotten Gialli films, these Gialli films, in any real quality is probably through these Blu-ray releases because I don't think you can really see them anyplace else. So you got a movie called Rings of Fear, Reflections in Black, Triple A masseuse, good looking, offers her services. Sounds like an ad in a newspaper. Each of these, I believe, come in their own disc, their own case. It's in one of their boxes. I believe like a top loading box, if I remember correctly. I don't have any of the releases, so I don't really know. They all have special features. I think they all have a commentary. Yeah, they all have at least have a commentary. So that is Forgotten Gialli, Volume 8. Jeez. These last two films here I did get to see, or these next two films I did get to see. The Belly of an Architect. This is a film starring Brian Dennehy and Chloe Webb. Brian Dennehy, pretty sure many of you know who Brian Dennehy is. Chloe Webb, I think, is kind of an underrated actress. Chloe Webb, to me, growing up, Chloe Webb was in the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. She played Danny DeVito's girlfriend in that movie. Chloe Webb, I think, was also in Sid and Nancy, the Alex Cox film. That's where she's from as well. Good actress. But this is the Peter Greenaway film starring Brian Dennehy. So, starring acclaimed 6-time Emmy nominee Brian Dennehy, who was in First Blood. He's also in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And in one of his most celebrated performances, filmmaker Peter Greenaway's 1987 Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or nominated Belly of an Architect is an intense study of self-destruction brought to a fever pitch. Co-starring Chloe Webb, who Sid and Nancy, like I said. Beautiful and unflinching drama filmed against the majesty of Rome by master lensman Sacha Vierne, who shot Belle de Jour, oh my goodness, why can't I remember who was Belle de Jour? Louis Buñuel's film. Comes to Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome Labs, newly restored in 2K. A commentary track with film historians Eugenio Ercolani and Tony Strauss. Stately Progress, editor John Wilson on Peter Greenaway and The Belly of an Architect. Caput Mundi, an interview with architect Gianpaolo Ercolani, and reversible sleeve artwork. That's it. But, so the premise of this movie is that Brian Dennehy is an architect who goes to Italy. I believe he goes to Rome, actually, or someplace in Italy. With beautiful architecture. So basically, go to Italy, and anywhere in Italy has great architecture. But anywho, he is paid or commissioned to do an exposition on, I believe, I want to say a 17th or 18th century architect, a French architect, and the people in charge of this museum or this showing don't think he's even up for the job. But anywho, he does it anyway. And it's this kind of obscure French architect whose work doesn't really get a lot of love or whatnot. Let me go to the letterbox. Sorry. Starting to fade here when it comes to energy in doing these streams. Let me go to my diary here because I want to make sure I'm getting the right synopsis for you, or else I'm just kind of speaking on a turn. Yes, the American architect Cracklight arrives in Italy, supervising an exhibition for a French architect, Boulier, famous for his oval structures. Tirelessly dedicated to the project, Cracklight's marriage quickly dissolves along with his health. So that's the gist of the movie, is that he becomes so obsessed with trying to put on this exhibition that his health begins to deteriorate, his mental health begins to deteriorate, and his relationship with his wife, Chloe Webb, portrayed by Chloe Webb, begins to deteriorate as well. He starts getting this like like delusions that his wife may be poisoning him because he's having like stomach health issues throughout this movie, and it's progressively getting worse and worse. So he starts like as it gets worse, he starts getting worse physically, mentally, and starts going down and down. And Brian Dennehy's really great in the movie, like really great in the movie. So that is Belly of an Architect. Kind of a very on the nose title, if I do say so myself. And next from the Cinématographe, we have Last of the Red Hot Lovers. This is a fun movie. This is a fun movie starring the late great Alan Arkin, directed by Gene Saks. Gene Saks, um, underrated director in my opinion. He directed The Odd Couple. He directed. Let's see what else he directed. But he worked a lot with. Let's see. Yeah, he directed Barefoot in the Park, which is the Robert Redford and Jane Fonda film, which is a really great romantic comedy from 1967. It's available on Blu-ray from Paramount. That came out, I think, like 5 years ago. Plain, kind of no special features edition from Paramount. Unfortunately, even though it stars one of the two biggest stars of the last 50 years in Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. But like I said, Gene Saks also directed The Odd Couple. He also directed Cactus Flower. He directed Mame, which is I believe the Lucille Ball film, right? Yes, it is the Lucille Ball. B. Arthur's in that film. Um, and he directed, what else did he direct? Brighton Beach Memoirs, Bye Bye Birdie, and of course, uh, Last of the Red Hot Lovers. And Last of the Red Hot Lovers is an interesting 70s comedy starring Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin is great in this movie. His comedic timing, his line reading, he's just so good in it because the movie entirely revolves around him. So, uh, a middle-aged restaurateur begins to feel the desire to roam and realize that one day each week his mother's apartment will be empty all afternoon. He makes several attempts at seduction only to learn that it is much more complicated and difficult than he could have imagined. So he's going through a midlife crisis. He's a restaurant. He's the owner of a restaurant. He's in like his early 40s. He's going through like this midlife crisis where I guess he wants to like cheat on his wife now. Granted, not a good thing. He's not a good guy, obviously, but that's what he wants to do. And he realizes he can do it because one day a week, his mother like goes out and like works at I think she works at a hospital or works at someplace, and her apartment is going to be empty. So he can have his little liaisons over there. And this movie is basically about how he's trying to cheat. He's trying to have an affair within his marriage, and he meets these different types of women, brings them over to this apartment, and it keeps going catastrophic for him. It keeps going completely wrong. Just one situation after another is calamitous, but it's all played for comedy. And Alan Arkin is, like I said, his comedic timing is incredible in the movie. Um, and it's hilarious. It really is hilarious. Um, yeah, the movie pretty much Alan Arkin's kind of the only one I think people will recognize in this film, at least in my opinion. I want to see who the writer is because the writer is also well known. Neil Simon. Neil Simon wrote this, and Neil Simon was a great screenwriter. Neil Simon wrote the screenplays for Barefoot in the Park. He wrote the screenplays for The Odd Couple, The Goodbye Girl, another 1970s kind of gem. The Out of Towners. The Out of Towners is great. Um, yeah, that's the movie directed by Arthur Hiller, starring Jack Lemmon and Sandy Dennis. That movie's funny. That movie's funny as heck. Um, yeah, Neil Simon was a great, great writer. He passed away a couple of years ago. But yeah, that is that's the last of the Red Hot Lovers. Let me see what we got here for special features. New audio commentary with film historians Nathaniel Thompson and Howard S. Berger. The Look, a new video interview with actress Renee Taylor. Beyond the Stage play, Gene Saks' direction of The Last of the Red Hot Lovers. A new video essay by film critic Matthew Zoller Seltz. And then new text essays by film critics Drew McWeeny, Chris Shields, and Justine Smith. We know Justine Smith. Um, yeah, so that is another looks like a solid Cinématographe release, really. I think all of them are really solid releases personally. Um, yeah, even just from collecting standpoint, um, I've liked everything I've gotten from them so far. They're up to let me see, this is release number let's see, what release is it? This is release number 16. Release number 16 at this point. So they're moving right along because they've only launched what last year, and they're already up to 16 releases. That's pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. Um, yeah, that's pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. So let's see what we got else here. I think that's it. I didn't get to see the Degausser video 38 Especial, so I'll just skip that for time. And we'll go over to the partner label releases, which I spent a good amount of time, you know, going through. Let's see. We've got quite a few releases here, so let's just go through them. See what we're doing for time here. All right. So we may keep it under 4 hours this time, guys. It's gonna be some kind of a record. Let's see. Let's see. So we've got the AGFA release. The AGFA Mystery Mixtape Vault. This runs about 500 minutes long, and it's just like a mixtape of a bunch of different things. But let me go through, do a rundown first before I get into each individual one. So ETR Media is putting out American Expendables, the films of North American Pictures. Shudder is putting out Birth/Rebirth. Canadian International Pictures is putting out Cannibal Girls. Bleeding Skull is putting out Cannibal Orgy in the films of JT the Fourth. Brainstorm Media is putting out Corabora. Music Box Selects is putting out The Dish and the Spoon. Connie or Canny, never know how to pronounce it. Probably should learn that one day. Is putting out Kisat Mata. Saturn's Core is putting out Lydia Lunch, The Gun is Loaded / Road Rant. That's a double feature. Um, and then Film Movement is putting out Mother Couch, and the Film Movement Classic is putting out The Oldest Profession. Film Movement once again is putting out Saint-Narcisse. Dark Star is putting out Sapiosexual and Taboo Family Secrets. That's a double feature too. Shudder is once again putting out something. Is putting out Spoonful of Sugar. Decanalog is putting out Sweet Dreams. Film Movement Classics is putting out Tarpon, and Circle Collective is putting out The Visitor. So let's dive into some stuff here. Okay, as I rub my eyes once again, let me move some things aside here. So I'll put this over here. Let me see. So, like I said, the act for the mixtape is 500 minutes of like mystery stuff that they actually don't even list off in the description, so I don't really know much about that. The ETR Media release, American Expendables, the films of North American Pictures. You can stream this currently on Tubi. It's a documentary, but not really a great documentary, unfortunately. So the film American Expendables, the films of North American Pictures. So North American Pictures made movies like um, uh, Tiger Claws, TC 2000, Frankenhooker, films like that. And this movie and this documentary attempts to kind of like shed some light on North American Pictures, but doesn't really do a good job of it. They only really concentrate on Tiger Claws trilogy and TC 2000. They talk a little bit about those movies. They talk about Cynthia Rothrock. They interview Cynthia Rothrock. They interview some fans and some people behind those movies and all that kind of stuff who were around at the time, who were big fans of martial arts films and kind of this whole big renaissance of martial arts films that happened in the late 80s and early 90s, pretty much in the wake and in the kind of generation aftermath of Bruce Lee passing away in the early 70s. But then they talk about how North American Pictures catalog was acquired by Troma. And they interview Lloyd Kaufman. And then the movie only, keep in mind, this documentary only runs an hour long. So for about a half an hour, we get into like North American Pictures and talk about some of the films and very little bit of the history. There's not much info is really given at all when it comes to these movies. Um, and then the last third of this hour-long documentary just becomes an ad and a marketing thing for Troma, which is cool. I dig Troma. I like the Toxic Avenger and all the other stuff that they've done and whatnot. But it just turns into like an ad for the newest Troma movie and just Troma in general. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, but that is not at all what this documentary was, you know, was showing itself to be. But okay, whatever. Yeah, that's it. And they talk about like the Toxic Avenger movie that they made, which is finally getting a release this year. They talk about another movie that they were working on that's getting a release, and it just becomes an ad for Troma, which is cool. But yes, this is special features. Sorry. Audio commentary from the director and the producer, extended interviews with Lloyd Kaufman and Debbie Rochon. McLeod, there can only be one additional 24-minute documentary. And then Fountain of Death, additional 80-minute action film. That's interesting. But yeah, that's from ETR Meet, American Expendables. Not really great or informative documentary. Kind of plays like a really long YouTube video, I guess. Not like, and the way it's constructed, we're just like crashing from different pieces of information, Like we'll be talking about one movie, and then we'll be talking about another movie, then back to another movie, and then they'll be talking with Cynthia Rothrock about the making of like Tiger Claws, and then they'll be talking with a fan about like some other random thing. It's not really well constructed at all. But moving on from there, let's move to something that blindsided the heck out of me. I was not expecting this. And this is already down to 150 copies. So if you want to get this, get it soon. This is the Shudder release of Birth/Rebirth. This is a horror movie with a capital H. And it's not horror in the sense like, oh, it's so scary and all this kind of stuff, or it's like, or anything like that. It's horrific on a very human level. And I'll explain what I mean in a little bit. So let me get the letterbox thing, because the synopsis on Vinegar Syndrome is not that great. I had never heard of this movie until it was announced. I have the Shudder streaming service, and I don't go on there too often, but I thought this movie was fantastic. So a single mother and a childless morgue technician are bound together by their relationship to a little girl they have reanimated from the dead. So the single mother, it's her daughter that gets reanimated. And you can imagine the emotion at just that level. Not only does this woman have to deal with the death of her young child, she's got to now deal with her child coming back to life and what all of those emotions entail. And then meanwhile, there is this morgue technician who is like orchestrating the whole process behind this, and how dark and sinister and immoral it is. It's dealing with the morality or immorality of this whole situation. This idea of playing life and death games and playing God, if you will, in quotes, if you want to put it in those terms. But man, it's fascinating, and it's incredibly emotional on a human level. The actress in the film who plays the mother is Judy Reyes. Judy Reyes, you may know from being in the sitcom or the show Scrubs. That's where I know her from. And coincidentally, she plays a nurse in this as well. Yeah, she plays a nurse in this film as well. And it's her child and her motherly connection that you really attach onto while watching this. And the movie doesn't, what I love about the movie is it doesn't play up these typical horror tropes of that you would expect it to. It plays a little bit within it of this whole idea of the reanimation of the dead and what that could be. We've seen all this before. If you've ever seen a zombie movie, you understand the tropes I'm talking about. And the movie decides to pivot in a different direction from that and stay within that direction. It doesn't give in to the more tropiness of it all. And I give it a lot of credit for that. Damn, what a good movie. Emotionally devastating movie too. My goodness. Especially if you're a parent of any kind, this movie is hard to watch. Very hard to watch. Um, my goodness. But like I said, there's 150 copies of this left if you want the limited edition release with the slipcover. But for special features, there's a commentary with director slash co-writer Laura Moss, executive producer slash co-writer Brendan J. O'Brien, actress Marin Ireland. Marin Ireland plays this technician. Incredible acting by this person too, by Marin Ireland. She's really good in the movie. Actress Judy Reyes, medical advisor Emily Ryan. Medically Squeamish: The Making of Birth / Rebirth, a 40-minute documentary featuring new video interviews with Laura Moss, Brendan J. O'Brien, costume designer Annie Simon, and editor Taylor Mason. Really that's gonna be fascinating to watch because the movie is so low key. It only takes place in like 2-3 locations. It's really fascinating. It feels so real and genuine. It really got under my skin. That is Birth / Rebirth, put out by Shudder. Next, from our friends over at Canadian International Pictures, is Cannibal Girls. Cannibal Girls is an early film from none other than Ivan Reitman. Yes, and stars Eugene Levy, and what I assume is one of his first roles as well, and Andrea Martin as well. I think both Eugene Levy and Andrea Martin would go on to star in SCTV together years later. But anywho, during a winter road trip, young couple Cliff and Gloria get lost and make an unplanned stop in Farmville, Ontario, a snowy small town known as the Friendly City. When they hear the legend of 3 local women with a history of murdering men, they playfully investigate, but to their horror, it seems the killers are still active. And you can assume where things go from there. You can assume where things go from there. It plays out just like that. Super low budget, not great acting, not great writing. Couple of interesting supernatural things going on here and there, some stylistic flourishes. You can tell it's people who are relatively amateurish in doing what they're doing, especially Ivan Reitman at the time. He wouldn't go on to make Ghostbusters until like another decade after this. But yeah, it's cool to see Eugene Levy with gigantic, bushy 1970s mustache and big hair and the sunglasses and the clothes. If you're a big fan of Eugene Levy like I am, you'll find that to be nice. But the rest of the movie is kind of eh. It's fine. You know, if you dig kind of like 1970s cannibal movies, I guess. And the thing is, it's not even like super graphic. It is, but kind of isn't. These quote unquote cannibal girls are not even in the movie that much, which is kind of a bummer. But it's fine. It's fine. Let's see what we got for special features. Scanned in 2K with a new color grade and extensive dirt and damage repairs. Yeah, that makes sense. Alternate AIP warning bell soundtrack. That's kind of cool. New audio commentary featuring Paul Corape of Conexploitation.com and film historian Jason Prochansky. 2 Guys in a Chainsaw episode on the film with the new epilogue on Canadian horror featuring host Craig Higgins and Todd Coons. Reitman the Frightman. New interview with film historian Chris Alexander on Reitman's horror period. Interesting. Yeah, this is definitely a cult film. Definitely a cult film. I can understand why it would be on horror podcasts and people would talk about it. People would be fans of it. This is the type of movie where you're like, hey, do you know that Ivan Reitman made like a Canadian cannibal movie in the 70s? Oh, you mean the guy who directed Ghostbusters? Yeah, him. Like that. Like it's that type of movie. The type of movie you have to watch with friends on a Saturday night with like popcorn and stuff, and have a good time. That's the type of movie this is. There's an archival interview from 2010 with Eugene Levy. There's an archival interview with Ivan Reitman from 2010 as well. That's fascinating. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm kind of wondering what Ivan Reitman would have to say about this movie. Let's see. There's also something called Orientation from 1968, which runs 25 minutes long. It's an early Reitman short uncut on home video for the first time. Now that's cool. That's really awesome. Because like I said, you don't get short films from directors on disc a lot unless they're special features. Really, they don't come out individually by themselves, so it's nice to get that. Um, yeah. Oh, you know who's also here? So there's a new orientation commentary featuring Hamilton Babylon author Stephen Broomer. I think that's our buddy Stephen Broomer. I have to check up on that, but if it is, good for him. And there's a booklet here as well. Once again, our buddies over at Canadian International Pictures doing a great release. The movie for me may not be great, but at least the release sounds really good. What else did I get to watch? Oh, I watched Cora Bora from Brainstorm Media. So Cora Bora is this interesting indie film. Um, Cora, portrayed by Meg Stalter, goes home to win back her girlfriend and soon realizes it's much more than her love life that needs salvaging. So this is another one of these kind of existential indie films about this character who maybe has some past trauma that has stunted their growth in their lives. And they're kind of in this state of arrested development. And while the other people around them have moved on in life, in this case, a significant other, um, they're kind of stuck. And in this movie, you're exploring why they are stuck and ultimately what they're doing about it. But this movie takes a more like lighter, quirky approach to it, I would say. Meg Stalter, I know her from being in the show Hacks. If you know the show Hacks, that's on HBO. She's in that. She's in that television series. Um, and coincidentally, I think this came out in the while she's on it because the show's still on. Actually, this came out in 2023. This movie, you know who else in this movie is Manny Jacinto, who I think is a great actor. He was in that show The Good Place with Ted Danson, as well as let me see. I'm completely forgetting her name right now. The Good Place, which is Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell. Sorry. Um, and William Jackson Harper, Jamila is in that show. Uh, quite honestly, I think The Good Place is one of the best sitcoms to come along in the last probably 10 years. Uh, it's available on Blu-ray and DVD, I think, from Shout Factory at this point. It's probably streaming too. Um, really good, really good show. But Manny Jacinto was great on that show. He's great in this, in a more straight edged version of his character. Um, it's interesting because um, you see a lot of these types of movies come along. Like kind of every generation has these type of kind of existential character journey types of films. And I thought this one was kind of okay. I thought the character was a little annoying, and I can't really sympathize with what she had going on. But that's just me. There's a commentary with director Hannah Pearl Ut, writer Rhiannon Jones, producer Mallory Schwartz, and executive producer Tristan Scott Barons, and that's it. That's it. The movie runs about 92 minutes long. Not bad. Let me see. What else did I get to see? So the best film I got to see, and what is an amazing film, is Akane Okani's release, Kisat Mata. Kisat Mata also has an alternate title called let me go look it up. It's like the Wick Kisat Mata. It's called In the Wink of an Eye. In the Wink of an Eye. So so this is a Filipino film. It's from the Philippines. And let me just read the description here. One Sunday in November, Mila announces to her father, Dadang, a retired police officer, that she is pregnant, asking permission to marry her co-worker, Noel. The news further tightens on Dadang's unreasonable expectations for a dowry are not met, and he exhibits an increasingly authoritarian streak The couple marries, and soon Mila's father begins a game of exclusion and manipulation in the hopes of reasserting control over his kin. That does not even begin to describe this movie. My goodness. This movie is suffocating. This movie, you watch this movie and you can't breathe while watching it because of what it's depicting. And the levels of which it's depicting. So, like I just said, there is this father character named Dadang, who's this former police officer. From the very beginning of this movie, from the moment you start watching this movie, you can feel how tyrannical this man is. You can feel how tightly wound he has the control over his family, how tightly wound he has control over everything in his life, and he will not let an inch of it go, not a millimeter of it go. He is one of those people who needs to be in control of everyone and everything in his life, and he's got to be the center of everything. And if he's not, he loses his mind. This movie is dealing with toxic masculinity decades upon decades before toxic masculinity was even part of our culture and people talking about it. It's an examination of patriarchy that still exists today. It's the examination of the relationship of the overbearingness, the oppression, the control that men believe they have over women just because they're men, just because they exist. There is no rhyme or reason. There is no quality. There is no quantifying reason for this man to have this level of control and obsession over his wife and his daughter, other than the fact that he's a man. That is it. And this movie is saying this in 1981. Incredible work. Just incredible. And this film is just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And my goodness, it's incredible film. It's so vile of the accuracy of this, of this type of situation. My goodness, truly one of the best films I've ever seen put out by any partner label. Yeah, it's really good. It's directed by Mike DeLeon. Beautifully restored. It says beautifully restored in 4K by L'Imagine Ritrovata. Is a stunning example of psychological horror. Yeah, it's a psychological horror. It's wow. What an incredible film. It's getting a 4K restoration, introduction, select scenes, commentary by director Isabel Sandoval, introduction by director Raymond Red, interview with actor and line producer Charo Santos, interview with screenwriter Raquel Villavicencio, interview with screenwriter Clodoaldo Doi del Mundo Jr., Vic Cialin, an actor remembers, and then 8mm behind the scenes footage, booklet with archival set photographs and writing. Yeah, I was blown away by this movie. Utterly blown away by this movie. It's really, really good. It's called Kizamata, or another title that you'll find on IMDb is In the Wink of an Eye. Yeah, it's really, really good. Like, I'm still like kind of shaken from watching this movie. Like, it's an incredible film. Let's see. Oh, moving over to, let's see what we got for time here. 2 hours and 48 minutes, looking good. Before I get into some other stuff, I do have some comments here. Let's see. Acres of Movies says hello. Oh, thank you. Hello, I had to attend a matter and happy to see this always. Oh, thank you for returning. Nice to have you back. Let's see. Acres of Movies also says, does Wayne's World 2 have any features or commentaries? There wasn't a list yet. There wasn't a list of special features yet. It was just a coming soon to 4K UHD announcement saying that it was getting a 4K UHD release as well as an HDR version of it as well. They didn't list anything yet. unfortunately, because I don't think the Blu-ray had anything in terms of special features either. Let me see. Wayne's World 2. Let's see. Wayne's World 2. Yeah. Yeah, Wayne's World 2 Blu-ray had a commentary track with director Steven Serchik, and then Extreme Close-Up is an average. Yeah, that was it. So it had 2 special features the original Blu-ray did. So hopefully they carry over that commentary at least, and carry over the extra feature. I hope, like I said earlier, I hope that they put more on that Wayne's World release, that Wayne's World 2 4K release, because I would really like that. I've always had a soft spot for that movie. So, Acres of Movies also says, also, if you were in an elevator stuck for 10 hours, what comedy movies would you request they play in there to make you laugh and calm you? Oh, boy. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Just because that seems pretty good. Anything with Robin Williams, comedy wise, of course, with Robin Williams, I would definitely want something like that. Perhaps The Birdcage. I talked about The Birdcage earlier because of Gene Hackman. I would definitely want that. Let's see. Dumb and Dumber. I've always had a soft spot for Dumb and Dumber. It was partially shot here in my state, so that's something I would definitely like. See what else would The Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski would be kind of cool. Office Space, Ace Ventura. These are some of my favorite comedies of all time. Now that I think about it. Throw a little Austin Powers in there. Why not? Little Mike Myers, Austin Powers. I can't believe they're finally making a Shrek 5. It's been like 15 years since the last Shrek movie. Finally coming out with a new Shrek movie. It's fascinating to me. But those types of movies. Let's see. Acres of Movie says Lloyd Kaufman scares me and I don't trust him. He's an eccentric guy. Lloyd Kaufman is an eccentric dude. So let's see. Acres of Movie says, do you want to see a Rip Van Winkle movie? Who would you cast as that great role? Man, Rip Van Winkle. So Rip Van Winkle, that's an old school fictional character. I remember reading Rip Van Winkle in college, actually. It was one of the first things I think we ever read in a history course, actually, which I thought was fascinating. Let's see, Rip Van Winkle, possible actors. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Rip Van Winkle. I mean, back in the day, I don't know if Jimmy Stewart would make a good Rip Van Winkle, because they have to be a short story. The story is a short story, so we're talking like something incredibly short and incredibly concise its presentation. So I don't know who would be good right off the bat. Maybe like a Paul Rudd, or maybe like I don't know, a younger Matthew Broderick would have been interesting. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Let's see. Acres of Movies also says, who would you cast as Joe Bob Briggs if he had his own biopic? Jeez. So we're talking. You know who would have been great as Joe Bob Briggs? Would have been Harry Dean Stanton. Harry Dean Stanton would have been a good one. Casting for the Oregon Trail Apple TV project has stalled. Who would you cast as the banker in that to anchor the cast? First of all, why they are making an Oregon Trail Apple TV series is beyond me. I guess you know what, Ian McShane. Why not? Just get the cast of Deadwood. There you go. There you go. Do I have Acres of Movies asks, do I have any pets? I do not have any pets, unfortunately, anymore. I had 2 dogs, and they both passed away. I had one dog that passed away in 2015 and one that passed away in 2019. Um, yeah. Let's see. Acres of Movies ask, would you rather see a product slash invention origin movie about an abacus or silly putty or slinky or frisbee slash discus or pen? I'm curious how an abacus was made, but I feel like silly putty would be more fun. Silly putty would be like almost like a flubber movie. That's kind of the feeling I get. Slinky is also interesting. I've always loved slinkies. Um, so I either slinky or silly putty. Let's see. Acres of Movies also says, did an audio review for Mickey 17 on my YouTube. It was the first one with my voice. Just audio for now. I also have made a bunch of movie haiku and other shorts so far too. Oh, thanks, you're an inspiration. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Mickey 17 does come out this Friday. That reminds me. Thank you, Acres of Movies. Mickey 17 does come out this Friday. It is the new Bong Joon-ho film. Bong Joon-ho, of course, did a Parasite, which is an extraordinary film. He also did a bunch of other films like Memories of Murder, the movie Host. Bong Joon-ho is a great, great director. That is coming out this week. I actually want to read the book called Mickey 7. That's the book that the movie is based on. And I've been really kind of been inspired to read that lately, but I'm currently going to be starting a new book tonight called Never Let Me Go, which is the movie Never Let Me Go from several years ago. Um, that's the movie that this book is based on. No, that's yeah. No, that's the book that this movie is based on. That's what I wanted to say. All right. um, let's see. Let's see. Christian Bale as Rip Van Winkle, that's what Acres of Movie says, would be pretty intense. Um, I feel like they want to go more with a kind of an everyman. I feel like that's the idea with Rip Van Winkle, though, is that he's kind of an everyman who falls asleep and then wakes up, and the world is different. Um, Kind of reminds me of um, Stranger Than Fiction, the Will Ferrell film. Kind of reminds me of that. Acres of Movie says, that's cool. I read Never Let Me Go, and the movie was great. Um, to the book is a very interesting experience. What's interesting is I think I've seen the movie once. I think I saw it once, and I don't really remember it too much. That's not true. I think I saw it years ago, and it's vaguely coming back to me now. Yeah. Oh, now I remember the movie. Okay. I think I watched it on Netflix. Coincidentally, I think I have the Blu-ray over here in my collection as well. But I thought I owned that book because that book, Never Let Me Go, is very popular. I always see it um on like when I every time I go to Barnes and Noble, it's always available on like a table somewhere of of books and whatnot. I've always seen it at thrift stores when I go thrift store shopping for books. I always see a copy of that. So I thought I had a copy of it, but I couldn't find either. I couldn't find it or I don't have a copy of it. And if I do, now I have two copies. So you can never have too many copies, I guess. Let's see what else we have here. Um, yes, Acres of Movie says Kazuo Ishiguro, incredible writer. Yeah, he also wrote The Remains of the Day, which I read in college, and we did watch the movie with Anthony Hopkins and Christopher Reeve. That's something I need to get from my collection is that movie. I know it got a Blu-ray release a few years ago, and I've been wanting to get it for years. I got to find my copy of the book. I know I have it because I read it in college, and I never got rid of anything I read in college. Um, but yeah, back to Vinegar Syndrome. So, uh, Film Movement is putting out Mother Couch. A Mother Couch is a movie with a stacked cast of Ewan McGregor, Reese Fawns, Taylor Russell, Ellen Burstyn, Lake Bell, Lara Flynn Boyle, and F. Murray Abraham. And this is a fascinating allegorical film. The members of a dysfunctional family find themselves mysteriously trapped in an antiquated furniture store where their elderly matriarch, portrayed by Ellen Burstyn, suddenly refuses to get up from one of the display couches. Reluctantly assembled, her three estranged children, Ewan McGregor, Reese Fons, and Laura Flynn Boyle, must figure out how to escape the bizarre predicament. With the help of the store managers, uh, F. Murray Abraham and their daughter Bella, portrayed by Taylor Russell, the siblings embark on a mind-bending odyssey that forces them to face life-altering truths about their own lives and upbringing, boasting sensational performances from an A-list cast, like I just said. Mother Couch marks director Nicholas Larson as a major new voice breaking through in cinema. I believe this is this person's first feature film, this director, Nicholas Larson. And to get this cast for this movie is pretty damn impressive, I'm about to say. Pretty damn impressive. And the movie's okay. The movie, I think, I say that, the movie in the hands of perhaps a more seasoned director, someone with more experience, perhaps would have been better. But it doesn't mean the movie's bad in any way. I don't think the movie's bad. It just like it holds a lot of cards back from the viewer, and I feel like a better director would have disguised a lot of those things a little bit better. Or at least a more seasoned director would have known some skill into kind of hiding those things a little bit better. But I didn't mind the movie at all. It's a relatively newish film, came out in 2023. Let's see what we got here for special features. A commentary with director Nicholas Larson, producer Sarah Murphy, production designer Mikhail Varhelyi, editor Carla Loof, and composer Christopher Bear, and behind the scenes featurette. That's it. Booklet with an essay by film critic and historian Jason Bailey. Okay. Now I watched another film here. I watched one more film. And then there are some things I just wanted to say that looked interesting to me, but I didn't get a chance to see them. So there's another movie being put out by Film Movement Classics. Film Movement and Film Movement Classics, I believe, are one and the same. But they always put out like at least 3 releases per like release cycle. And this movie is called The Oldest Profession. It's a film by Noboru Tanaka. But it has another title that is much more graphic, if you say you could say. It is called Secret Chronicle She Beast Market. Not exactly hiding what the movie's about. So, in an endless cycle, a daughter born of a prostitute takes up her mother's trade among the pimps, the working poor, and dilapidated slums. This is a movie from 1973, 1974. This is a dark movie, both like literally and theoretically, thematically, graphically. It's but I just keep attaching some random adjectives, and it's dark. Yeah, it's tough to describe this movie. You basically follow the life of this sex worker in the slums of this place, and it's not sex work in a glamorous way. It's not sexual in an erotic way. It's sexual in a dark and dirty way, and a disturbing way, in a very base, animalistic, basic human function way. And it's just a series of situations like that over and over again throughout this movie. And this movie only runs 83 minutes long, and it's shot pretty much entirely in black and white. A couple of moments here and there of color. Kind of reminds me of the aesthetic of Rumblefish, the Francis Ford Coppola film, where only certain meaningful moments of that movie were in color. That's kind of how that operates in this movie as well. And it is also titled The Oldest Profession because sex work is the oldest profession. And this movie's fascinating in its examination of that, and it's rather harrowing examination of that, how that world can become very demeaning, how that world can become very dehumanizing, um, and just how it can just sap someone's humanity in this context of this world that this woman lives in. And man, it is dark, it's depressing film, and it's not pleasant to watch this movie, to be honest with you. Um, like over and over again to see certain situations and whatnot, it becomes you almost become mind numb to it. Man, it's a dark movie. Kind of brilliantly minded, like brilliantly dark in that regard. But damn, it's tough to watch. Let me see what we got here for special features. Um, Let's see. Private Business and Public Obscenities, video essay by Japanese cinema expert Jasper Sharp, and a 16-page booklet with a written essay by Japan Society film programmer Alexander Fee. Yeah, that's this movie called The Oldest Profession, um, by Noboru Tanaka. Also called The Secret Chronicle of the She Beast Market, which is a way more accurate title, unfortunately, because these people are treated like, very in a dehumanizing way. Yeah, harrowing film, harrowing film. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it in terms of things that I got to see, but I did want to just like mention a few things. The movie Saint-Narcisse is another film movement film. Anything film movement puts out, I'm willing to bank on at least watching. Music Box Selects, which I mentioned earlier. I mentioned earlier because they put out a Blu-ray release of Sean Baker's film Starlet. This is a Music Box Films release. At least I believe it's the same company. Perhaps I shouldn't be overstating things. Yeah, Music Box Selects. It's the only Music Box Selects release I had in my collection, actually. And that's because it's a Sean Baker film. Let me put that back over here. And it's called The Dish and the Spoon. And the reason why I wanted to mention it is because it stars Greta Gerwig. It says this quirky romantic comedy follows Rose, Greta Gerwig, whose life changes after discovering her husband's affair. Devastated and reeling, she soon crosses paths with a marooned British teenager, portrayed by Ollie Alexander, in a boarded up Delaware beach town, and the two begin a peculiar relationship as they drink their way through town, act out dream scenarios, and get to know each other's past. This eccentric and insightful film illustrates how we navigate change and loneliness, for better and worse. This sounds very much like a film Greta Gerwig would have been in 2011, and that is exactly what it is. Feels like kind of one of her works with Noah Baumbach, Francis Ha, kind of, or another one of those types of movies. So I'm definitely interested in this. Definitely interested in this. For special features, it has deleted scenes and outtakes, South by Southwest interview with Greta Gerwig and Ollie Alexander, location scouting featurette. Yeah, I'm definitely in it. I'm a sucker for indie films in general. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Uh, but yeah, I think that's going to be about it for everything here on Chasing Labels episode or spine number 159. We're about the 3-hour mark here. Let's see what we got here for some comments before we get out of here. Let's see. Oh, Acres of Movie says, I'm scared for the future of the world, but your program calms me. Well, you're welcome. That's kind of my escape from the world, is the world of movies, is the podcast here on Chasing Labels, and just the world of movies in general, kind of occupying one's mind with something else, or investing one's time and investing one's energy into things you can actually enjoy in life. For me, it's movies, it's books, things like that. The world is an increasingly frightening place, an increasingly scary place, an increasingly anxiety-inducing place, and you've got to find little places within your life to put yourself, to make things better for yourself, in a healthy way, obviously, in a positive way. A lot of people kind of succumb to certain vices that lead to negative things and whatnot. I'm talking about positive things. I'm talking about movies, books, comic books, television series, reading, watching, all this kinds of stuff, collecting, all this kinds of stuff that give, certain meanings to our lives and to our world. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything else here to talk about before we get out of here. Let me see. I think that's pretty much it. So Acres of Movies does ask, do you like Cadillac Man? I've brought up that movie Cadillac Man several times here on the show, on Chasing Labels, because it's a movie starring Robin Williams and Tim Robbins and directed by Roger Donaldson. And Roger Donaldson, for some reason, pops up on here more times than you think. Coincidentally, I forgot to say this earlier. Dante's Peak is getting a 4K UHD release from Kino, and I think they're just announced the special features for that. But they haven't posted it yet on their Facebook page. I saw it from our good buddy Ryan Verrill over on the Disconnected. He posted some details about that, and I know we talked about it when it was announced. That's a Roger Donaldson film. He also directed Cocktail. He also directed an underrated movie called The Recruit. He directed The Bounty from 1984 with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins in an adaptation of Mutiny on the Bounty. But yeah, I actually like Cadillac Man. I may be like the only one who actually like really digs that movie. I want to say, did Cadillac Man ever get a decent Blu-ray release? Let me check. Cadillac. That's not how you spell Cadillac. Let's see. So Cadillac Man does have a Blu-ray release. It does have one. It's got one from Kino, coincidentally, which is now out of print. That sucks. Hopefully somebody picks up the rights to that soon, because I think that every Robin Williams film shouldn't go out of print. I think we always need Robin Williams in our lives. So that shouldn't go out of print in my opinion, but it did. Let's see. I think that's going to be about it. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, I can do that. So Acres of Movies asks, can you briefly run down which ones you're excited for the week and anything that you think are the highlights? And then Acres of Movies also says Cocktail with a good special edition and Donaldson discussion and commentary. That'd be nice. Let's see. Can you briefly run down which ones you're most excited for the week and anything that you think are the highlights? Are you talking about of stuff that I talked about here on the show today? Because I could definitely do that. Because I've got my show notes and I could definitely just run down. Let's see. Things that we talked about here on the show, some highlights. Definitely Waking Fright, the Australian kind of exploitation film, is getting a nice 4K release from Umbrella. When it comes to Arrow, the Andromeda strain, it's nice to see a nice Michael Crichton special edition. Let's see. Eureka's putting out 2 really cool box sets. Strange New Worlds, Science Fiction at DEFA, The Bells of and Terror in the Fog, The Wallace Krimi at CCC. Those 2 are German box set release. One's from East Germany, one's from West Germany. That's really cool. Wayne's World 2. Wayne's World 2 is at the top. I'm so excited that that's getting released. The movie Bottoms is finally getting a Blu-ray release. Yeah, the movie Bottoms is finally getting a Blu-ray release. That's the comedy from 2023. Let's see. Shout Factory is putting out a Blaxpolitation box set. They're also putting out Scent of a Woman in 4K, which I like I said earlier, love that movie. Fun City's putting out Falling in Love, the Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep film. My buddy Scott Saslow is working on that release, working on the design and artwork and stuff. So I'm excited for that. And then let's see. Cinématographe, Last of the Red Hot Lovers. with Alan Arkin. That's a really good commentary. That's a really good film directed by Gene Saks, um, written by Neil Simon. Let's see. And then when it comes to the partner labels that we just talked about, the one that's a big for me is Kizat Mata. Kizat Mata, or In the Wink of an Eye. That movie is incredible. Um, definitely, definitely. Um, that's got my and also Birth/Rebirth that Shudder is putting out. Those were the two big highlights for me when it came to the partner labels. Um, yeah, those are some good stuff. Some really good stuff. Um, so I will be back here in 2 weeks' time. Let's see what we're looking at in terms of time frame. That will probably be St. Patrick's Day. Probably be back here St. Patrick's Day. That's the plan. We just I want to reiterate, we just did our new unwatched pile for February with our good friend Ryan Verrill from The Disconnected. That is up on the channel right now. We will be doing another one this month at some point, probably. I want to say before the end of the month. I'm not really sure. I don't typically schedule that. My buddy Steven schedules that. So we will get another on Watch Pile, and yeah, I'll probably be back on St. Patrick's Day to discuss some other stuff. By that point, I'm assuming we'll have Criterion announcements by that point, as well as some other stuff. That's my guess. With that being said, I think that's going to be it for everything here on Chasing Labels. You can find the audio for this podcast over on the usual place you can find any podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, those usual places. And then, of course, here on the YouTube channel of Chasing Labels, where you can find the live stream video, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it on repeat. A view is a view, essentially. You know what I mean? Any little bit of support helps. Once again, I do want to say that we want to congratulate Sean Baker, who won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture at the Academy Awards. For those of you who showed up late, and for those of you who didn't listen at the beginning of the show, our buddy Sean Baker, who was a guest here on Chasing Labels back on episode 7, which was in episode 70, which was in October of 2022. You can find that audio on where you can find the audio for the podcast. Yeah, awesome for him. Super awesome dude. Loves physical media, loves movies, obviously. So that was pretty awesome. And yeah, like I said earlier, never been that close to someone who has ever won an award for movies. Definitely not an Oscar. So that's pretty awesome. I'm still in shock about that. Nice. So that is it for everything here at Chasing Labels, episode number 159. Thank you all for supporting the show. Thank you all for watching. And hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.